Well, look, the Obama campaign spied on our campaign, and they've been caught. All right, and now let's see what happens to them. But they have been caught. They've been caught red-handed. It's probably treason. It's a horrible thing they did. It probably never happened before. At least nobody got caught doing it. But they used the intelligence agencies of our country to spy on my campaign, and they have been caught. And there are a lot of people involved. I don't want to say how much she's involved. Frankly, if he chooses her, that's fine, but that's a potential liability. We'll see. But President Obama knew about it. Joe Biden knew about it. Comey knew about it. Brennan, Clapper, the whole group, they all knew about it. Lisa Page, her lover Strzok, they all knew about it. And we have it documented. We have it in texts. We have it in all sorts of forms. They knew about it. It was a terrible thing. Should have never happened and should never be allowed to happen again to a president. This should never happen again. This was a setup like we've never seen. I think it's the political crime of the century. And they've been caught. So let's see what happens to them all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Lace up those boots and over the top, boys.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio Number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, we made it to Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you for choosing Cold War Radio. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail, 412-567-1460. Please go to steelcityresistance.com, where you can become a Cold War Radio patron, catch the all-valuable research room, the Video 2 page, where there are videos and other links I think you'd be interested in from time to time on the clips that we play on the radio. If you'd like to write to the show, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433, 370 Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, let's load them up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the northern neck of Virginia and welcome Jack to the show. Hello, Jack.
Hello, Hutch. Hi, everyone tuned in, the Spreaker, and a huge shout out to the folks in the Spreaker chat room. Been a wonderful week out there on the York River. Actually, it's a little bit close to the Naval Weapons Station, Yorktown, Virginia. And one of the coolest things this week, because we get out there right as the sun breaks, we can start harvesting the oysters. And the wind was right like 2 times this week. And we're out there. The motors are off, so it's dead silent. The only thing you hear is the sound of oysters on top of these boards as people are culling them. But at 8 o'clock in the morning, you hear the national anthem.
Oh, nice.
Which is coming, and it reminded me, you stop the cars, everyone stops, you get out of the car, you wave or point yourself towards where the flag or the music's coming from and salute, right?
Oh, man, you talk about Karens. Get on the base and don't stop. I mean, that's instant war, boy, for everybody out there.
But it's just think of that being on the water in the river, and it's all just nice and quiet, and then you hear the national anthem. So it's a blessing. So
I had an experience. Glad to have you. I had an experience similar in nature, kind of. I was coming across the Liberty Bridge across the Monongahela River, which would put the city of Pittsburgh skyline to my right rear, and there was a car in the other lane. It's 2 lanes going each way, and I was in the left-hand lane. He was in the right-hand lane. We were headed toward the Liberty Tunnel, and we were stopped, and he had this big strip of chrome across the back of his trunk lid, and the way the sun was shining, I looked on that piece of chrome, and I had a postcard-perfect reflection of the skyline of the city of Pittsburgh on his car. It was too cool, man. It was like once-in-a-lifetime thing. It was too cool.
I remember that city.
Yeah. So I wanted to kick off the show tonight. I had some correspondence with a friend, and they were clearly being affected by the PSYOPs operation that's in effect right now. You're all probably being affected by it, and I just wanted to address it. And I wanted everybody to make sure they understood what it was. It's that feeling of frustration that you're having, that feeling that we're going to lose, that feeling that none of this is worth it. And I just wanted you to know that the entire apparatus of the federal deep state is doing that on purpose. And please don't fall victim to it. You're going to feel bad. I was so glad to get this message because it made me catch myself in this, and it's something that is so manufactured. We're going to talk about it throughout this show, but I just wanted everybody to just take a break and realize there's some facts out there going on that are not being taken into consideration with this PSYOPs operation. For instance, if the Biden camp and the media thought that everything was Humpty Dumpty and that they were ahead by 12, 15 points like Fox says, do you think Joe Biden would be campaigning in Michigan and Pennsylvania?
Or Arizona.
Or Arizona? Or Minnesota? I mean, don't get caught up in this. That this is something that I know every time you turn around, I notice some stories have infiltrated into the Daily Caller that are saying that this is over by some guy named Patel. I don't know who he is, a co-founder of the Daily Caller. But there's too many truths out there to keep us on track. I mean, I've seen reports that Trump has already pulled out of Ohio and Iowa because he's winning so well, winning by so much in the internal polls. And if you pull out of a swing state, he's not doing it because he's losing there. And there's several other things, the rallies, for instance, the low turnout for Biden rallies.
Wow, it's like, it's ridiculous.
It is.
Anytime he makes an appearance, it is. I think he was trying to catch. If you look when he was in your state to do his Gettysburg address for himself, there was Trump supporters welcoming him.
Yeah.
Or his motorcade as they went in. I didn't see a Biden person there. You know, he rolled out, did his staged speech, and then left. You know,
never takes questions. And let's not forget the magnanimous performance by Vice President Pence. I mean, that was a slam dunk. That was a no-brainer.
How awesome is he? He's rock solid. He's the best vice president I've seen in my life.
I agree with you.
To go along with the best president I've seen in my life, you know, that's America team right there. How can we lose?
You know, I had a master sergeant like that just was so supportive of everything I wanted to do. But if I did something stupid, he told me. You know, and it just watching him, I never had a whole lot of confidence. Well, I take that back. I gained confidence in him with the Wuhan virus task force. He was really working hard during that, and probably still is. But after that debate, man, he might be able to fill Trump's shoes. I don't know.
Oh, big time. He might not have the economic stats or the stones that Trump has and the way he can deal with other countries, because it's just something that Trump has, you know, in his mind. But the good thing is Trump has surrounded himself with a team of advisors, like you said, the weaponized economic branch. The economy is so vital to our national security, and the team that Trump has brought in aren't the deep state. They are all Trump. So Pence has those folks to draw upon if he decides, you know, for 2024. But to see how smooth and calm he was when Kamala Harris or Senator Harris went after him and his team of what they did this whole year as far as the coronavirus or the COVID-19. I was fuming for him, but he never, he didn't sweat a bit.
He was smooth, man. He was really smooth. And we're going to talk about this debate commission in a little bit too. I found out some information about that's going to knock your socks off. It's going to actually help you to understand what we've been going through for the last 20 years or so. When it comes to debates.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. Did you read that? Did you get a chance to check that out? It's something else, man.
I was going to email it to you, and then I looked at the show notes. It says he's already on it.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? I mean, it's something else.
Yeah. You're not going to see it on TV?
No, you're not. You're definitely not. One of the things about the president is he never, if you've noticed this, we've been following along together throughout this journey. And if you notice, he rarely says anything that doesn't have a purpose. Even if it sounds crass or it sounds this or that, it always comes back to, remember when he said that? You know, you didn't really pick it up at the time.
Right.
I want you to
But it
listen to a message. Yeah, good.
kind of burned into your brain, and you're like, where does this fit in? And then sometime later, it's like, oh, that's what he meant.
So I don't really know what this message to the military meant, but I really do. I just don't know the details, but something tells me that we might be getting close to unleashing a can of whoop ass somewhere. Let's listen to the president speaking to the about the military.
We've spent $2.5 trillion over the term in office, my term. That's over 3.5 years. Think of that, $2.5 trillion. I took over a depleted military, old equipment, broken equipment. Even in the Army, all brand new uniforms with the belt. Everybody wanted the belt. But we spent $2.5 trillion. We got everybody pay increases, 3 of them. There's never seen anything like what I've done for the military. As far as the VA is concerned, what we've done there with choice and accountability, the VA would be treating people badly. We couldn't do anything about the people that were treating our great soldiers, our great heroes badly. Now you fire them right away because of accountability. For 45 years, they were trying to get that. For more than 45 years, they were trying to get choice. Obama gave you a weak version that didn't work. It was a joke. I gave you the Mission Act, which is phenomenal, and it's worked out fantastically well. And we now had a 91% approval rating from the vets, our great heroes. So I just want to tell you, we have your back. Our military has never been stronger. It's never been better. We've never had equipment like we have right now. We have brand new tanks and planes, F-35s, all of the best of everything. Nobody thought it was possible. I just want to thank a lot of the Republican senators, because getting it from the Democrats is like pulling teeth. But the Republican Senate, Senator Imhoff and so many others, they've been fantastic. So I just want to thank them very much. But our military has never been in stronger shape, whether it's rockets or missiles or anything you can name. We're building a lot of ships right now. We're getting our Navy back to where it should be. Everything that you can name is now under development or already developed and sent. Many, many planes are coming. They've been ordered. They're being built. They're coming. Jet fighters, bombers, tankers. So for our military, I just want to let you know there's never been a president that has your back like I do.
So there's that, and you can opine on why you think he did that right now. I have a couple different ideas, but at any rate, you listen to some of that story, and we were out of bullets, Jack. We were out of ammunition when he took over, if you go deeper into that story. And the Obama-Biden administration really depleted our military badly, and really we need this term. A lot of people don't understand that the military is probably the biggest politically correct agency in the United States government. Your thoughts on that from experience?
Yeah, and the one thing I do remember being an enlisted man, a lower enlisted man, when I was in active duty, I was, the bottom of the barrel. I was picking up cigarette butts if somebody decided I need to. But one of the things I do remember during that time at Fort Bragg, during payday activities, anytime there was, something political going on, and there might have been certain times where you might have reporters on the base trying to get the troops' opinion on something, or I think at the time it might have been don't ask, don't tell, and the downsizing and the closing of a lot of bases along the East Coast back then.
The BRAC.
The payday activities, they basically said, do not, under no circumstances, do not answer questions from the press, because you're part of the military service. You serve at the the pleasure of the commander in chief, who happens to be the president. So as I grew older, you could see that that sort of thing doesn't kind of go all the way up to the top. There's a lot of politics going on at the very top, and a lot of it is centralized in that bullseye in D.C. and the Beltway that surrounds it, and the Pentagon and all that. Like you said, going into this, at the beginning of this, leading into it, about the pressure, the deep state, they're firing every round they can fire right now.
Yes, they
to
are.
Try to get everybody that supports the president to bail out. We're winning the fight. That is why all of this. Do you think? And this is just me speaking. I don't know how you took it, Hutch. As soon as I heard about this so-called plot to take the governor of Michigan or whatever, I'm like, if the FBI infiltrated this, in my head, because I was listening to the radio yesterday when it came out, and I said, if the FBI infiltrated this group and caught them, then this whole thing is just set up.
That's what they've all been. This is what the terrorists that they catch too.
Exactly.
They catch these teenage terrorists. They put it in their mind.
Put it in their mind. Give them all the info. They even gave them fake bombs. Remember that?
Sure.
And then as soon as they activated them and they were going to do it, here comes the FBI to save Americans' lives and thwart
what a time.
Terrorists.
And what did they do? And we're going to talk about this later, so maybe I'll hold off on that. But
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, we can talk about it right now. Doesn't matter. I do. But it was worse. It was actually worse than that. I mean, what they really did, and I'm just scrolling a little bit here. All right, here we go. Another October, another bit of right-wing terrorist horse manure from the FBI. It's amazing how this always seems to happen in the run-up to a major election, isn't it? The FBI announced yesterday that it had made arrests of a dozen right-wing terrorists who were supposedly plotting to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and overthrow with 13 people, overthrow the government of Michigan. The announcement and arrest of these people, who are actually anarchist, left-wing terrorists, not right-wing, of course, come just in time for the media to use them as a tool to try to influence the upcoming election in favor of the Democrats, which, of course, is always the agency's goal. And it's true. It's absolutely true. Now, there was some reporting that was erroneous that I saw on Big League Politics, and I almost brought it to the show, but it didn't make sense, because what they tried to do was they went with the entrapment part of the story, which is accurate, but they made it out that these guys were good guys. And I'm like, no, you blew it. Big League Politics, you blew it. You've got that story 3 times on your website, and it's bullshit. But still in all, the part about the FBI is damn spot on. And it's infuriating, really, when you look at it. I mean,
in context with all of the other things that we're going to be talking about later involving the FBI, let's just say Durham, you include the CIA leader Haspel, you include the fact that Ratcliffe, the DNI's declassifying papers, and the president, what did he do? He said the whole entire Russia hoax deal, declassify everything unredacted, and the Hillary email investigation, unredacted, released. So that's add to it. Pompeo said, "Hey, I found Hillary's lost emails, and we'll be releasing them."
Pompeo says he has Hillary Clinton's deleted emails and will begin releasing them before Election Day, after President Trump put a boot up his ass.
Yep.
And that's what happened too. He didn't do that on his own. Mike Pompeo, although he's effective, and he has high marks in my book so far, he is a founding member of the deep state.
But he was also the CIA, and there
My
wasn't
point.
much coming out of them,
Right.
And
and just
he was
to
CIA director.
right. Just to clear up this Whitmer would-be kidnappers are Antifa. They love all races and hate Trump. This is by M. Dowling. Yesterday, the left-wingers on social media and in the so-called mainstream media had a hate fest against the right-wing claiming right-wing militiamen plotted to kidnap. The governor's still saying this. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and assault others, including the police. These 13 men had hoped to start a civil war. All we know about the militia is that they contacted the Michigan militia. The 13 plotters seem to like the Constitution, guns, like all criminals, and hate the government. They are anarchists. They have no problem with minorities and want them to join with them in their civil war. The fact that they were anti-police had me wondering why they were men of the right. The university minions who watch for terrorists claim they are right-wing or go from left to right. That's almost a total lie. Take J.J. McNabb, a fellow at George Washington. She helped to start the blather about Boogaloo and the Wolverine Watchmen as right-wing. She includes the harmless online group QAnon and Vaxxers in those groups of violent anarchists and socialist communists. She claims some Boogaloos and the men like the ones who wanted to kidnap Whitmer sometimes like Trump, which is a distortion of reality and an attempt at throwing shade on who is really terrorizing Americans, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. The men arrested are Antifa-loving anarchists. The Boogaloo are socialist anarchists. Right-wing can't be anarchist socialist. Sorry, JJ. The lies from these so-called university experts and politicians are nauseating. Watch the anarchists talk crazy. And I was not going to give them any airtime on this show. However, if you go to the Video 2 page, you will find a link where you can hear each one of them in their diatribes, and none of it is conservative or right-wing.
It's important, though, that you go there and watch them. That every media outlet should be posting these folks because it's there and available. It is a crime for the media not to present these people for what they are because everything's out there, right?
It is, yes. Absolutely, it's a crime. And it tells you, this is another way that you know that Biden is not up by 15 points. Because why would the media and the FBI and the CIA put everything on the table if they were going to win anyway? Why would they do that? Why would the FBI further destroy what they've already almost destroyed it all anyway? If I was an agent in the FBI, I'd be pissed off right now. I would be so livid because I wouldn't doubt that after this election's over, a total revamping of U.S. government agencies. It needs to happen. It really does. It needs to happen. And
it does. Do we have enough new members? I mean, new members of Congress to pass the laws. I mean, the president and the executive branch can come up.
They can
with
do a
the
lot.
Bill.
They don't need a bill. The FBI, all these agencies are government agencies run by the president.
He can just shut them down when
I don't know what the nuances are, but I know that he can do a lot. For instance, federal government agencies were allowed to unionize via an executive order by John F. Kennedy. So that can be undone in a day. There's a lot of things that can happen.
I know Reagan fired all the air traffic controllers, but I think this is a little bit bigger of a job.
It definitely is. And you'd probably go agency by agency.
Yeah, this shows you that it's not only the media, the Democrats, the Republicans, it is the establishment, unelected bureaucrats that are just, you talk about an infection. It's all over every single federal agency. They're responsible for this stuff coming out, right? It's all timed perfect. to be so overwhelming as leading up to the election day, so as try to wear out President Trump and the folks that actually believe in the founding of this nation. And,
no, you're absolutely right.
We're being tested. It's a huge test.
This is, and I would also suggest for those of you so inclined to use prayer as much as you can, because, man, we're up against everybody. There's more of us, but they're the ones with the positions. So it's just something. It's like Washington D.C.'s running the whole country. And that was never supposed to be that way. The other thing, when these kind of people do these things, they think you're stupid, ladies and gentlemen. They literally think you're stupid. They go into Walmart and they can smell you. They've said it. Harry Reid said he could smell the tourists when they come into the Senate.
I was thinking about the way the left does this. How stupid must be on the left-hand side to sit there and accept as truth, or it being acceptable, that the Democratic candidates for president, when they're in the primary state, they have to go all the way to the left to win the nomination, promise everything on a socialist level. But once they secure that nomination and then they have to battle the Republican, it is completely acceptable for them to move to the center and basically abandon what they've promised their voters that already voted them to the position where they were at. Like, that's acceptable. To me, I would be completely irate. You don't abandon the principles that got you elected to be the nominee. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, but you got to look at these are people that listen to George Stephanopoulos as an honest reporter, or Jake Tapper, or take your pick, Chris Wallace. It's just
Chris Wallace.
It's something else. It really is. Why don't you let's switch it up a little bit? Why don't you give a primer? We talked a little bit about this before the show. Let's just get back to basics on the origination and the real facts in a short wrap up of the novel coronavirus.
Yeah, when this broke, I mean, right now you see all the media, and it's been going on, especially since the president was diagnosed in the White House. A lot of the folks in the White House were diagnosed with COVID-19, and they're coming down and all of this crazy stuff. Although they mainly call it, if you notice media, they call it the coronavirus, which folks, I think most of the folks here know, but I think it's a good reminder that coronavirus, or novel coronavirus, what this particular COVID-19 means it was brand new coronavirus. Coronavirus is the family of viruses. So I went and searched for a little. This is a March 2020. So this was just when it was coming out, and this is a little info deal from Baton Rouge General. It's a Mayo Clinic care. And it says, what does novel coronavirus mean? It says coronavirus are a large family of viruses that can cause illnesses ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases. A novel, in quotes, coronavirus is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans. COVID-19's animal-to-person spread was suspected after the initial outbreak among people who had a link to large seafood. That was the animal market. Because it's so new, very little is known about how this coronavirus works. And since there's no vaccine, no established immunity from past cycles, experts believe everyone is susceptible. So this is the information that was coming out in March. Remember, the information they're saying is the president, they were informed, I think, the end of January. In February, he started acting, shut down travel from China and all that. Before, I think it was the first death. There was first 5, and it was Washington State. The key thing is that this was new, right? no vaccines, no treatments. Actually, it was something on the fly that the world is dealing with right now. So for the Democrats and Biden and Kamala Harris in their campaign and the media, the way they're trying to say that the president and his task force failed the American people, they're failing to be truthful with the American people.
Imagine that.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
And they didn't know how it was going to mutate. And
Exactly.
this is true with all of these viruses. That's why if you look at any of the research or the reporting, the official medical reporting at the CDC on influenza and vaccines, each year is different. You know, they develop new vaccines every year,
Right?
in order
Depending
to
on
react to the mutations.
What's projected to be coming.
And so it's no different with this one. It's just that the president with Operation Warp Speed was able to unshackle the companies so they didn't have to go through all these crazy different regulations that were all designed for Pfizer to be on top, for a small company not to be able to deal with it. And this was pushed by lobbyists in Washington on K Street, Republicans and Democrats. And they're just pissed off as all get out because the president did this. And it's only just begun.
Look at the response. Look from the beginning to now. At the beginning, somebody the age of the president, there would have been a death sentence, right?
Indeed.
When this was brand new. And you look at, how a lot of elderly folks, and a lot of it had to do with governors putting elderly folks into compromising situations, putting them into nursing homes. I think most
Tom Wolf, Governor
Yes.
Cuomo, Chris Cuomo, whatever his first name is.
were from that, right?
Sure.
Putting positives into nursing homes and all that. And if you remember, it was sort of, a mini. Everybody was anxious about it because it's new, and they warned us as much as they should, in my opinion, because the way that Biden's team and the Democrats and the media are saying now, the president should have been honest with him and just basically came out and told America in February what he told Bob Woodward on tape. And I'm like,
Fauci didn't even know what it was in February.
Exactly. But what President Trump told Bob Woodward makes complete and total sense to me.
Absolutely
He basically
does.
said, they said this is bad, but I've got to make sure that I don't cause a panic. It was bad enough. You saw the toilet paper was gone.
Right.
This is already a mini, people are nervous. Just think if the president said, we're doomed. We don't have any answer yet. We don't know shit about this virus. And it's killing everybody.
And Pew comes out with a poll that says that Biden is killing Trump on coronavirus. Trust how he would deal with it. I'm thinking, you got to be who in the world?
Did you hear his plan?
Would think
That's
Biden
exactly what the president's task force had did.
But even if he didn't have that, just anybody who would soberly say that they would trust Joe Biden with something so complex. The reason why the coronavirus reaction worked is because of Trump's business acumen. He was able to get those CEOs to come in. He knew which CEOs to go to.
And he also talked with the people that developed those stuff, and he said a
Right.
lot of the companies were saying, he basically said, what in the government prevents you from working faster?
Yep.
And he basically cut out a lot of the red tape, which is why you got a potential of a vaccine being approved before the end of the year. Normally they were talking 1.5 to 3 years from development to deployment.
How much courage does this guy have to say, give me the experimental drug nobody's ever heard of? Because nobody ever heard of that before he took it. I didn't.
he also did the hydroxychloroquine, right? People
Yeah.
are like, blah, 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 and then he's like, hey, I'm on it. I took it myself, you know.
All right, so I wanted to touch on that. I don't want to use too much time on it, but I thought that was necessary. That was a good catch, Jack. I appreciate that. Back to politics for a second. I'm going to play a clip. You're not going to believe this. I saw one story that said that this commercial was produced, written, and translated by the U.S. government. And I went past it, and I found it somewhere else that didn't have that. But this is a Joe Biden.
Shocking.
It is. This is a Joe Biden commercial for Muslims. And I would urge you to watch the video on the Video 2 page so you can see the graphics behind this. The whole thing is subtitled in Arabic. And it's just, these people are all in cahoots together. I don't know if you've heard that before. I'm sure I've said it before. That Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the communists, the socialists, the jihadists will all help each other until they get power. Joe Biden, presidential commercial for the Muslims.
I will end the Muslim ban on day one. Day one.
He's going to have a busy first day.
Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad instructs, whomever among you sees a wrong, let him change it with his hand. If he is not able, then with his tongue. If he is not able, then with his heart.
Make no mistake, people. 2020 is our year. Let's dive into it with 2020 vision. We can see clearly that America is fighting for its very soul.
We all come from the same root here in terms of our fundamental basic beliefs. And I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to engage, for committing to action this November. It matters. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. Muslim Americans' voices matter. I'll be a president who seeks out, listens to, and incorporates the ideas and concerns of Muslim Americans on everyday issues that matter most to our communities. That will include having Muslim American voices as part of my administration.
Yeah.
But getting out the vote, getting our families out to vote, getting our elderly out to vote, getting our masjids out to vote, getting our neighborhoods out to vote. So let's do our part.
And join the largest Muslim voter mobilization in America.
The Million Muslim Votes campaign. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's make our voices heard. Because we got the means, we got the numbers, and we got the power.
Raw power from the streets to City Hall. That is enough to make a man throw up.
Just the fact that video, if you go to the page and watch it, was it was employees of the Voice of America folks.
The United States government.
Packaged I think anyone in the military knows what the Voice of America is, right? These people that worked for Voice of America took excerpts of Biden speaking to CARE and their group Engage, and then put together the message, right, with the screens, and produced this video.
The jihad music.
Put it on our Urdu website, and I'm going to read from the Gateway Pundit. It only aired on VOA on the Urdu website. It was also aired and promoted on PBS, another taxpayer-funded adventure. The 4 Voice of America individuals who created the video were reportedly identified, but they were able to hold on to their jobs because the authorities who reviewed the case agreed it was a first-time offense.
Oh, my word.
So they were allowed to remain employed.
I mean, he quoted from the Hadiths. You know,
This is a call to jihad. Some places, but I mean, and this is something that you're not going to see on TV.
Yeah,
you
that's
see
right.
taxpayer-funded VOA, PBS, basically supporting the Biden campaign.
Another thing that you won't see anywhere on the media other than this show, unless you go to a website and read it. Ladies and gentlemen, your weekly jihad report. 42 jihad attacks, 148 killed, 109 injured, 5 suicide blasts, all occurring in 12 countries. The religion of peace, atrocity of the week, Faryab, Afghanistan. A 30-year-old pregnant woman was shot dead in Pashtun Kot district of Faryab province Thursday, local authorities said. Kareem Yurish, spokesman for Faryab police, told Kama Press on a phone interview that the 30-year-old woman is shot dead by unknown gunmen as she, with her 2 young children, dropped from a public service vehicle. The children are fine. According to Yurish, the area is highly under the control of Taliban insurgents. Other recent misunderstandings of Islam. On the 5th in the Philippines, Abu Sayyaf fired on a group of locals harvesting food, killing 1. On the 5th in Pakistan, an Ahmadi professor is assassinated by a Sunni professor following an argument on religion. Also on the 5th in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, ADF members infiltrate a village and hack 6 residents to death. Back to Afghanistan, all this occurring on the 5th. A suicide bomber rams his car into a governor's convoy, killing 8 others. On the 4th in Burkina Faso, 24 displaced persons are singled out and slaughtered by jihadists. And on the 2nd in Afghanistan, 4 children are among 15 innocents slain by a Shaheed suicide car bomber. The religion of peace, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to thereligionofpeace.com. One body at a time.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
So one of the coolest things of this political season, Jack, the president co-hosted, I don't know if you call it co-hosted, but he was on the Rush Limbaugh show for 2 hours straight today. That was pretty good. I kind of think Rush penned it as a rally. So Rush probably should have just muted his mic and let him go, but he didn't. And man, I'll tell you, the president doesn't like being interrupted. You know, I mean, I don't know if he can't hear or what it is, but there was some awkward moments in that interview.
I didn't catch that, but I did catch his appearance on Hannity last night before I went to sleep. And basically, if you're going to have the president on, you just mute your microphone and just let him go.
Indeed. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that Martha McCollum.
Guy.
You know, but anyway, he told, there was a big hullabaloo today, and that started yesterday, about Nancy Pelosi setting up a committee to invoke the 25th Amendment. And everybody thought she was talking about Trump. And, of course, she wasn't. She even said she wasn't. What she was talking about, President Donald Trump told conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh today that Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi hopes to use the 25th Amendment to get rid of Joe Biden if he wins the election and replace him with his running mate, Kamala Harris. It's rather interesting. I mean, I can't imagine being Joe. You know, you think he knows?
He knew that. I think he knows that going in, right?
Possibly, yeah.
You know, he's like, the the horse that's put to pasture. He's out there, and his days have gone by, and they're just trying to ride him one more time. But I mean,
there's a case study in how a guy goes to Washington and robs the joint. He's he's probably a billionaire, but he's definitely a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, he's enriched his family.
Never did a damn thing. What a job, man! What a job.
Well, so there's a lot of that. Feinstein, Pelosi.
Pelosi's rich in her own right. I mean,
her husband got a lot of that CARES money.
I'm sure that's true.
Makes me sick to my stomach.
So, will Joe Biden go peacefully if he loses? Joel Pollack asks that. He's been on the program. I want to turn your attention, ladies and gentlemen, to something that is really horrible. And you can go to the research room. It's the last entry if you scroll down in the research room. There's a document entitled the Transition Integrity Project Report. And what they did is basically, in June, the Never-Trumpers, deep state Republicans, and all of the monsters of the left got together and they war-gamed. And they war-gamed how they were going to steal this election. And it's a long read. It's 23 pages long. So obviously I'm not going to get into all of it, but I'm going to hit a couple things. And the most dangerous, they have 4 scenarios. And the most dangerous of the 4 scenarios is a Trump landslide. A clear Trump win in the Electoral College and in the popular vote. And some of the things that they're calling for, and I can't, without using this for the rest of the show, I can't do this thing justice other than to tell you to go check it out yourself. But the lies that are in here, the things that they say in here, as an incumbent, unbounded by norms, President Trump has a huge advantage. And they lay out different things that they're going to do, a show of numbers in the streets and actions in the streets may be decisive factors in determining what the public perceives as a just and legitimate outcome. Trump is likely to prioritize his personal interests in the transition period. So what this is basically talking about, what they think that he's going to do, take the money and run, pardon everyone, wag the dog, spark a foreign adventure, all the things they would do, destroy evidence, disrupt the transition process, and I mean they have recommendations to avoid a crisis, plan for a contested election, focus on readiness in the states, providing political support for a complete and accurate count, get it right here to avoid a crisis. Name the elephant in the room. President Trump is not running a normal re-election campaign. They've already started doing that. Address the 2 biggest threats head on, lies about voter fraud and escalating violence. Ladies and gentlemen, the battle only starts on Election Day. The period of November 4th to January 20th is the decisive war. And they've got plans for every day. They've got plans for the press. They've got plans for Congress. They've got plans for their thugs in the street. And we better damn sure be ready for it. And I know the Republican Party is not.
Well, they're in on it, but the battle has already begun. Voting has already started. There is, I mean, what they're trying to do as far as the election is concerned is overwhelm the system to guarantee that nobody will be a winner, right? Everything's going to be put on to litigation.
Where would you ever see so many different states making so many mistakes with these ballots.
Mistakes,
That's on purpose,
lost
man.
ballots.
That is on purpose. That is to get you to not trust it.
How many years have they tried to get states to update their voter rolls to, eliminate folks that have passed, remove folks that have moved on and registered in new states for years? But they always, whenever you see a move like that, it's always opposed and say that is trying to keep people from voting, when what they're trying to do is keep maintain the integrity of who is voting, which is that's vital.
I don't see how
one vote, one person, one vote. That is key.
I look at these Biden signs in people's yards and I'm thinking, how does so many people agree with this? How does so many people not see that the only way these people, why do you think the court is so important to Democrats? Because they can't pass legislation.
Well, what's kind of funny, with them. I mean, one of the other reasons why, that the deep state, everything was in place, that Hillary was going to be the president, because President Trump, he said by the time he ends this first term, he would have appointed 300 federal judges, because President Obama left so many openings on the table.
Crack kills.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, it's a whirlwind, and if you go by how the country should work and how it's actually operating from the government, it's the reason why you have this show.
So again, I want to encourage everybody. Go to steelcityresistance.com to the research room, and I've uploaded the document into a Google Docs. I would suggest you download it and print it, because this is going to be the playbook. I haven't read the entire thing. I understand it. You want to get scared, listen to Glenn Beck talk about it. But I'm going to go and read the entire thing. This is the playbook, and we have got to get the patriotic Republicans that are left on board with this. They have to know about this, and I just don't have confidence that they do. I don't, and I just they're so silent. There's a couple of them out there, but boy, I swear half of them want Biden to win. I think, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's go to Kentucky and welcome Rico to the show. Hi, Rico.
Hey, what's going on, man? First of all, I got 4 points I'd like to talk about. But one of them you did so thoroughly and so well, I don't even really have to talk about it, man, because you just creamed it. And that's the Gretchen Whitmer conversation that you had earlier.
How about that?
You knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
And the question I have to ask you is this. How come there are so many Democrats, small-time Democrats, that are being arrested all over the country for election fraud? Why is that happening?
Is there an honest bit of policing going on? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it's happening. It's happening. It may not be as widespread as I think it is, but Texas is beating down on some people, and particularly this young Muslim.
Well, I've got a story about that too. But how I've been waiting for this kind of thing for a long time. If you listen to the show for a long time, you know that from the very beginning of Russiagate, I said, where are the rank and file FBI guys? Where's the 25-year-old guy that if he loses his job, he can get another one? Where are the people that care about the country? Because who joins the FBI if you don't? Mm-hmm. Who would do that? Who would go through that grueling training, and not just training, the pre-screening,
right?
Where they talk to everybody you ever knew.
Yeah, but don't you think that some of these people that are in the rank and file would be absolutely scared of the people that are at the top, because they know they could be thrown in jail? Just because they're FBI doesn't mean the boss can't do it.
That's true too. I mean, there's several things, but throughout our history, this is a line in the sand, and it seems like nobody's caring about that anymore.
Some high level whistleblowers that come out from various agencies, NSA, the FBI, CIA, they have been taken out, ridiculed,
Yeah.
looked upon as wacko conspiracy theorists. So if you're talking about, like you said, the 25-year-old, there's no way they're going to be,
But here,
crossing that line.
when you're on a local level, it's probably easier to take them out. I don't think that's part of it.
Does a whistleblower's information, how far does it go? Who's the one that's going to respond to it?
Adam
Does
Schiff.
it get, is it just something to basically say, okay, this guy, you tag him and, he's not going to get moved up in levels, and then he's, we're going to make him frustrated till he just quits, right?
Good,
you know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, and the third thing that I want to talk about is, we've been seeing all these ballads and stuff like that being thrown in trash and stuff like that. We have now got proof that, and it's mostly, if not all, have been left-leaning destructions of Trump ballots. We now have proof that all over the country that voter fraud from their type of
harvesting,
mail in and all that stuff, it's rampant and it's everywhere, and it's perfect proof that they basically want to steal the election.
That's why Lindsey Graham needs to get on his game, man.
Yeah.
He needs to get that Supreme Court justice seated, because that's where this is all going to end up.
That's one of the things. That's the last thing I want to talk about is, the Pence-Harris debate. And what I thought Harris carried herself fairly well. However, everything that I heard come out of it started out from some left-leaning media falsehood. She said things like, Trump said this about the military, and they said this about his taxes, and all this stuff that's simply not true. However, the big thing, there's two things that I want to emphasize. One is how Pence defended the new nominee to be in the way they should be treating her next week. I thought that was the best moment, even though it may be simple. He just blew it out of the water and said, you messed with Kavanaugh, don't mess with her. Okay? And the final thing is Harris and Biden, basically, they talk about, they want to unite the United States of America. They want to unite the people. But yet, every aspect of the conversation by Harris had a little to do with calling out the right, and mostly Trump, a racist. This is not helping with getting people together and uniting. This is actually trying to divide the country. So I'm a little pissed off about that. That's what they're doing. They're trying to divide this country.
Certainly.
And I'm well aware of their their techniques and how they're doing it. And they're doing it in broad daylight, like it's so easy.
Like this is their last chance, maybe.
Yeah. But one of the things I will say about all the things that have been happening, with the ballots, they're finding them, dealing with the arrest of Democrats, small-time Democrats, and small towns and stuff like that. This has given me hope that maybe they're not going to be able to steal this election, because there are other people looking out.
I hope you're right. I think the same thing.
I think I think that's a good point. Yeah, and there's hope there, but I contrast that with what's happening with Project Veritas and their expose on what's going on in Minneapolis, where they have a harvester gloating about how many votes that he has in his car and all this, and then you watch the response, and he's actually, I think, getting ready to get a lawsuit against a TV station in Minneapolis, who's basically standing up and putting forth a false response, and accusing Project Veritas of doing this instead of the secret camera recording the suspect of paying $200 for this guy's mail-in ballot to vote for his candidate. They said that he gave him $200 to send to Somalia for a relative that was sick. Yeah. I mean, just come on.
All right, Rico, man, thanks for calling. Always appreciate it, brother.
Hey, no problem. We'll talk
Thanks,
to you
Rico.
next week.
Sounded good.
Bye-bye.
All right. There you go. Yeah, it's something watching this. And, I mean, why would you go through all this if you were ahead by 10 points?
Right.
This is you guys got to keep your powder dry, man. They're throwing everything at us, but you know what? It's not going to work. It didn't work in 2016. It's not going to work now.
Yeah, and one thing about that video, that if you go by and see it about Biden and the Muslims, you'll see at the end of that little process piece of propaganda paid by the taxpayers of the United States is the photos of Ilhan Omar in there and Rashida Tlaib.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Linda
Sarsour, yeah,
in there. So this is. You got to recognize the enemy when you see them, and to me, I recognize them, and we already have two of them as members of Congress. So, folks, if you don't realize that we're already engaged in a battle for this nation, then you need to listen to this show a little bit more, right?
Indeed, and it's not all fun either. Attorney General Bill Barr has begun telling top Republicans that the Justice Department's sweeping review into the origins of the Russia investigation will not be released before the election, Axios reported. Barr has made it clear that they should not expect any further indictments or a comprehensive report before November 3rd. And Jack, as I listened to the president on Rush Limbaugh, when Rush told him that, it was the first time he heard it, and he was pissed off. And I guarantee you, right after he got off that show, Barr's phone was ringing. So I don't know how that'll turn out, but it was something to listen to.
He's going to be angry, like you said earlier, with his the tweet that when the shot that was heard around the world, where he said we're declassifying everything as far as the witch hunt against him and the Hillary Clinton email thing. No redactions. Everything's going to be out there for the public, and you have Christopher Wray slow walking, Gina Haspel, CIA. Why didn't he just call both of them and Barr into the Oval Office?
Yeah.
Or at least put them out there in the backyard so we can yell at them from the balcony. It's like, I'm declassifying this. Give me these papers and give it to the American people.
Yeah, or you're going to jail.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You know.
Right. No, I definitely agree.
And one thing, it might be because, like we've talked about the whole show, they're trying to steal this election. I think if it's honest and fair, the president will win re-election easily. But the way they have it set up, it's going to go to court, and it's going to be worse than the hanging Chad deal.
But job number one on the other side of it has to be fixing it. We can't let this hang for another election cycle. Not even a congressional election cycle. This has to be fixed. It really does.
Right. And hang is a good word, because if you remember, that's one of the key things that Hillary Clinton said when she lost. She said, we are all going to hang for this. And you think about it and look at how widespread the corruption was, how far the deep state and the former administration went to actively attack our president.
And big tech, too. Hutch Bailey Jr. got suspended from Twitter for saying what you just said. Let's go to Ken in King George. Hello, Ken.
Hey, what's going on, folks?
Hey, buddy.
Happy Friday.
Right.
So yesterday I was supposed to show up for my election officer training, right? And so when I'm driving, I don't even look at the phone. I usually set it up to listen to WMAL's app and I'm driving. If it rings, it rings. If not, I don't pick it up. Well, I get to the basically the building behind the courthouse. And I'm like, oh, hey, I got a missed call. it says possibly, Lori or a registrar. So I dialed the number, and she goes, yeah, well, you're apparently the only person that signed up for this time slot for training. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, I just took off 2.5 hours of work to drive up here for this training, and then I'm the only one here. She was like, well, I'm like, I'm already in the parking lot. She's like, well, come on in. I'll just give you an overview of, what kind of changed. And so in Virginia now apparently only some of these rules are going to affect the presidential election, and then everything's going to go back to normal come next year when we have our first primary. But all you have to do is you don't have to show a photo ID anymore, but you still have to produce some sort of ID with your address on it. Okay.
I've never shown an ID yet in Pennsylvania. Never had to show one yet. Just
and then there's also, what the hell was the other thing that she told me? So if you send in a mail-in ballot, normally you would have to put in a request form for an absentee ballot. Why not? I didn't have to fill that out. Right? I kind of questioned it because I voted yesterday. Because I normally work a precinct that I don't, that I'm not supposed to vote in. So, but I had asked her, I was like, hey, why didn't I fill out this form? She was like, nope, because of this, because they're using COVID as an excuse for every damn thing. But apparently, if you sign, if you get one of these absentee ballots, you're supposed to sign the thing, and then you're supposed to also have a witness. Well, I guess they're waiving the whole witness thing, too. Right? But it's only effective for this election cycle. So if people want to decide to do it again, next year or, in subsequent elections, when it's required that you have to have, and she was telling me all kinds of stuff about people, they forgot to fill out their address or, well, apparently they've got 72 hours from the time that the registrar's office gets the ballot, right? If they find any discrepancies with it, like you forgot to fill out your address, physical address, not a P.O. box, they can contact the voter. They have 72 hours to come down to the registrar's office and fix the discrepancy. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just drive down to the registrar's office? No, they're also doing like a curbside voting there too if you don't want to walk inside. I mean, we're accommodating everybody like you wouldn't believe, so that everybody who wants to vote and feel safe and all this other stuff, they've got the opportunity to vote.
For only this election, right?
But only this election.
Just for the steal.
So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting, the conversation we had. And one thing about being up there is, I got to remain neutral. There's, you can't talk politics, but I did bring up some questions that were, could have been considered, I'm like, okay, hopefully Lori doesn't kick me out of her office, but I was able to vote yesterday.
Well, all I can say is thank you for your service on doing that.
Definitely.
That's important, man. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, it's going to be a long day, I'm sure. Well, actually, one of the things. So normally, like I said, when I do this, I normally absentee vote and fill out some kind of special code for reason wise. And apparently, this year you don't need a reason to absentee vote, but you fill out the ballot like normal, and they have a scanner in there, and you toss it in there. And so far, the count that was on that scanner was about 2,000 people had already voted. And out of, I think there's like 18 18 to 20,000 people in, the entire county of King George that are registered to vote.
Yeah.
So I'd say like a tenth of the people, but according to Lori, he said that, on average, they've been getting about 150 people per day. Now, early voting stops, I want to say October 30th. And she said, based upon the daily, absentee voters that they've been getting, she's under the assumption that if they keep those numbers up, they'll have probably a quarter of the county would have already voted absentee. So on election day, they're estimating probably about a 50 to 60% turnout in person because people have already voted. So,
or they're going to come back, or they're going to come back and vote again. But that's another thing.
Yeah, if you get to
that was one of the things. Now, one of the safeguards that she put in, because when they check you into the poll book, it prints out a ticket with your name, your address, and she's like, "I want you to initial this. This is you. You initialed this." And that because normally if you did an absentee ballot, it would flag your name in the poll book, with an AB.
Right.
So if you tried to show up in person to vote again, so this way they have proof at the office that no, you've already voted. I don't know how they're planning on doing that this year, but because I guess everybody has the opportunity to absentee vote, but I guess they've got a paper trail that you showed up at the registrar's office to vote.
Right.
So I mean, they're trying to put in as many safeguards as they can, at least at the King George, county level. That we're trying to work within the constraints of these idiots down here in Richmond. So
we're looking at a potential 110% voter turnout for the county.
Anyway, it sounds really interesting. I appreciate your input. I got a full slate here. I got to go, Ken. Thanks for calling.
All right.
Have a good weekend, Ken.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Sean from California, you're up next. Go.
Hey, what's up, Hutch and everybody? How we all doing?
All right.
Well, California is pretty screwed up election-wise. Voting and all that is just starting in early voting areas of the state, and what do you know, long and behold, they're finding ballots all over the place.
I think that's every
one
state.
One of them happened to be like 6,500 ballots that were mailed in, and then they just found them in one location, and they found another 6,500 in another location. I'm like,
any Republican,
this is according to Epic Times.
Any Republican that votes that way, that doesn't absolutely have to, those are Democrat votes if it's that many. It has to be. There can't be that many people paying attention on our side that are going to put their vote on a piece of paper and send it to the freaking welfare office. Oh, excuse me, the post office.
Well, here's the kicker. Again, our AOF Gavin Communist Newsom's executive order says all ballots must be mailed in to the voter, and all the ballots need to be mailed back. But guess what? This all contradicts with what I'm seeing on these little commercial ads from YouTube and, all these other places online, like my ca.gov crap that I see, that I, look up to make sure, am I still allowed to go early vote in person? Well, it's not looking like that's possible anymore. I'm like, oh my God, you really are communist. And I said, you know what? I'm still going in person. If I have to, I'll just drop the ballot off in the polling place. That's what I'll do. I mean, if you're going to try to steal an election, you better be ready for people to be pissed off at you, California. This is not on.
Well, one of the things in the Transition Integrity Project if Trump wins in a landslide, one of the things they're talking about is joining California, Washington, and Oregon and having a secessionist movement that they'll secede from the Union. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's nuts. And Gavin Newsom, how much do you know about Gavin Newsom's family? You know who his auntie
Other than
is?
the fact that they're complete communists?
You know who his aunt is? Nancy
I don't know who his
Pelosi.
aunt is.
Nancy Pelosi.
Oh.
Nancy
I
Pelosi.
knew it. I knew it. I freaking knew it. I knew someone was
I
up
learned-
there. I was like,
I
why did
learned
she
that today.
stick up for this guy so much.
I learned that
Was
today.
that confirmed 100%?
No, but it sounds right. Check it out. Somebody check it out.
Yes, it does.
That sounded true to me. I think I heard it on Rush. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
Donald Jr. would know that, right? Because Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Here's something else I want to discuss real quick.
Right. Good, Sean.
This particular one has to do with what I saw on Epic Times. Trump wanted to do a whole new stimulus bill, which I thought he was completely against, and then he said he wanted to triple it from what the Republicans and Democrats wanted.
He
What's
wants
up
to
with that? I'm
target.
a little lost.
He wants to target it. What you're looking at with what the president wants. He wants to send money to Americans, and he wants to save the airline industry. And he wants to do them. He wants to do them one at a time. He doesn't want these omnibus things. I mean, when it went to Nancy Pelosi, she jumped it from 1 point something trillion to 2.3 trillion to bail out raggedy ass cities like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and states that have been ripping their people off.
California.
Right.
Yeah, don't forget my state. My state rips us off all the time.
Right. Yours is one of the worst. But so is mine, and so is most of them in the Northeast.
He said, "Give me a clean bill,
Right,
to help help the people, and I'll sign it today." And they play it off like he's losing his mind because he said, "I'm not going to negotiate," and then the next day he comes back and does this. He's not negotiating. He says, "You send me a clean bill to help the American people and the airlines, and I'll sign it." That's not going back on it. He said, "I'm not going to play this COVID-19 thing with you." You know?
Dan Crenshaw has a good video out on it, and Dan Crenshaw to me means well. He's not totally politically educated, but he means well, and he's a patriot, and he's a combat veteran. And he basically calls it out and said, the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi are not negotiating in good faith. They're coming in there my way or the highway. And my way is $2.5 trillion, which was not even in the American vocabulary before George W. Bush. The word trillion, the first time I heard the word trillion in the George W. Bush administration, I thought they were saying gazillion. I thought it was a word that wasn't even a word.
Remember the CARES Act? Wasn't that like potential
7 trillion or something?
7 trillion. Already done deal. This is what, phase 3?
$1 trillion. Let's start at the beginning. $1 billion is 1,000. Think of what you make every year. $1 billion is 1,000 million. $1 trillion is 1,000 billion. It's money that it's not even fathomable.
$300 billion is almost enough money to give every single living citizen in the United States $1 million apiece.
There you go.
So think about that.
They're talking
This is
cray-cray.
money way big time past that.
They're talking cray-cray.
Yes.
They should have never gave them computers. They should have never gave them computers. They should have made them have to print it out on paper, the money.
Agreed.
Instead of monetizing the debt. Instead of it's mind-boggling.
This is what the continuing resolution.
I have one more thing to say.
Okay, wrap it up. I got some other callers.
Unfortunately, for me, my class got canceled for the trade school. Something happened. I don't know what.
Postponed.
I'm not even going to ask. But all that money is going to go to these little freaking round mirrors that help you with your blind spots on the car. So that's what I'm going to do with it, because I'm trying to finish up this driving thing so fast.
Don't overthink
because I know what's going to happen.
Don't
with the state. I mean,
Sean,
it's going
Sean,
completely.
Don't overthink it, man. Just pretend you're out there riding a go-kart when you were a kid. This is no different.
You're walking down the street.
I've never driven or rode a go-kart. So.
Why did I not know that already?
That's why I said walking down the street.
All right, Sean, man. You have a great weekend.
Yeah,
and
it's just one of those things.
Keep your head up, brother. Sean. Yeah, you're going to be fine.
Thank you, guys. Peace out.
Yep, see you. All right, man. Getting hairy out here.
Go-kart.
Marlene from Eugene. Thank you for waiting, by the way, and to you too, Sean.
No problem.
And Ken.
That's okay.
Guy's been on, but I got to take him in order. Let me get to this report here because I want to get your opinion on it. For decades, Portland was considered to be one of the most impressive cities on the West Coast. It was safe, vibrant, and productive. But in recent years, it has turned woke, not only culturally, but also politically. The results have been disastrous, and they're on the verge of stepping even further to the left. Mayor Ted Wheeler has been a complete disaster because of his radical leftist policies. But his opponent, Sarah Iannarone, is even more radical than he is, if that's even possible. She's known as the Antifa candidate for mayor, and right now she's leading in the polls. It would seem that the domestic terrorism that has engulfed the city for over 4 months has been embraced by most of the residents. To get an idea of Iannarone's ideology, listen to her response about Antifa.
I have a follow-up for you. You've been called the Antifa mayor. Are you Antifa? And how would that guide how you would handle protests as mayor?
I love that Joe Biden answered this question before me, because being opposed to fascism in 2020 is not something to be embarrassed about. I have a bumper sticker from the beginning of my campaign that says #everydayAntifascist. And what I have tried to do is normalize peaceful responses to the rise of white nationalism by organizing in my community. I organized this summer when the Proud Boys came to town. I organized a menstrual product drive for my neighbors residing in the Laurelwood shelter, because the answer to toxic masculinity is an inclusive, pluralist society where people of all backgrounds feel welcome.
Let me jump in here and just ask you, though, is being anti-fascist the same thing as being Antifa? Are you Antifa?
Antifa is not anything more than an idea. That's what Vice President Biden explained to us. It's people who oppose anti-fascism. And I strongly oppose anti-fascism, and I adopt and implement peaceful responses to that. And that is how I describe my position on this issue. Donald Trump has decided to make the enemy of groups of people who oppose his bullies and his militia forces. But I'm not going to be caught rhetoric, because it's false. It creates division in our society. It creates division in our city, when what we need is every single Portlander faced in the right direction, saying hate is not welcome here.
Portland is doomed. If you still live there and you're not a member of Antifa or Black Lives Matter, you might want to leave as soon as possible. That's by Carrie Morosco. Your thoughts, Marlene?
First of all, the description of comparing Portland to what it used to be and what it is now, that's pretty much true. Portland used to be, not for me because I don't like the town, but a lot of people like Portland because there was a lot of stuff to do there. It really was. It was a vibrant city in the little suburbs around there. It really was. And now it's not. It's turned into a war zone. But the whole lady with her Antifa stuff, she's completely full of it.
And she doesn't have a real
can't
good...
even answer a question either.
She doesn't have a real good command of the English language either. She said that she was totally opposed to anti-fascism.
I don't buy that for a minute.
No, she didn't see. She made a mistake, But she came out the other day with a skirt that had Che Guevara on it, and just.
Oh, gag.
She's hard. But what's up with the people that live there? There can't be. For it to be a functioning city, there can't be people that want it to go worse than Wheeler.
There might be, because what I think it is this is where I think that they kind of missed it a little. Yes, the Portland area used to be, a vibrant city. It really was. And I think what's going on is it's become a war zone, but there's also, and what I'm getting at is that the people haven't changed. They are still as communist friendly as they were, a few years ago.
That's the way it is.
I think it's coming out more. I really do.
That's the way it is in Pittsburgh. It's like that in Pittsburgh too, in the moneyed. In the rich community.
Isn't that Microsoft and Nike big time on that area?
Not so much Microsoft, but Nike, yes. Nike is really big.
Oregon, in the region, right?
The thing with Nike is that I don't have the book, but I think my dad's got it somewhere. Talks about how that whole thing started here in Eugene, and with was it Bill Bowerman and one of the former track coaches got together with somebody and they ended up with this little shoe that had a waffle. They made a shoe sole out of a waffle iron.
Yep.
Yes. And so that's gotten real big, and of course, little, as I call him, Uncle Phil, who I think he's got a home up somewhere in Central Oregon, but he's donated gazillions of dollars to the university. I think other places besides Oregon, but he does, and he really has. He's given tons and tons of money to the U of O for this building, that building. They named the library after, I think it was after his son, and then they named the new basketball arena. That was Matt Knight. That was his son. Actually, come to think of it, the library might have been named after Phil, but the new basketball arena, because they got rid of the old MacArthur Court, which I dearly loved, and I still do. That, to me, that was Oregon basketball when I was in junior high. It was great.
If I can ask you about the history, I seem to remember Oregon being, and the Pacific Northwest, when I was growing up, that was one of the areas where, the folks that enjoyed freedom but loved the country went, right? It was one of the areas that folks left the cities to go up there. You had a little bit of the 60s, the peace and all that.
Oh, movement. we had our share of that.
But,
yeah,
and you had the tree huggers and that. But you also had a lot of folks that loved the country, but they liked their freedom to get away from too much taxation. All they went there, but that it seems like they've been completely overrun, and now it's California North type situation.
I think in some senses, yes, because if you, I've seen a few political maps of Oregon just in general, and I think our county, and then just in other words, part of the I-5, which is the arterial between us and California going all the way up to Washington, Eugene, Portland, and that area in between there, it just seems like that's kind of where all the communists are, and where it's which makes Oregon a blue state, and the rest of it's red. I go back to Central Oregon where I lived for a couple of years, and they're all conservative over there. A whole different world.
Small government, love America, but small government, and let me live my life, right?
Exactly, and that's the way they are. You get out of Eugene, you go over to Central Oregon and Eastern Oregon, Southern Oregon, same thing.
Well, all of us, all of these Americans need to rise up and vote coming this election.
Definitely. And I will admit, we do have vote by mail here, but I'm hoping and praying we don't have any screw-ups out here. Because I usually take my ballot and I at least put it in a physical ballot box. I don't put it in the mail.
Right.
Never have.
And those are the people that Rico was talking about. Most of them were postal workers.
Oh, yeah. I saw some of those articles. I saw them. I was glancing at stuff this afternoon, and I went, oh, my God.
I know.
But a couple of things to kind of wrap things up here. I too listened to Rush's interview with Trump. I still have a little bit to go, but I listened to most of it. And I agree with you. He was furious when he heard about Barr. And I got a feeling this is getting out there a little bit. I got a funny feeling Barr may not be around too much longer.
Well, you know what?
I'm not saying he will, but it's possible.
Well, the thing is he's an old timer, and I understand somebody who has dedicated his entire life to this kind of thing, how he would want to protect the institution, but the institution be damned. The institution is not more important than the country, than the republic. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't see that, then he's got to go. And if the president has to be the attorney general, so be it. Something's got to happen. We're against horrible foes, and no matter what happens, there's going to be a fight. Anybody who doesn't see that right now, this is never going to just end where, all right, man, we lost, we're out. That's not going to happen.
No,
it's not. Don't even. You can pray for it all you want, but I'm telling you, these people know, like what Jack said, when Hillary told Donna Brazile, they're going to hang us. They know what they've done.
Yeah, sure they do.
And we know what they've done, and we better man the hell up as a country.
Yeah, and those life type acquaintances and all the people, all that spider web, they're saying, it's too big to bring. No, you need to bring that down because our country is at risk. This is not about your friends and all these criminals that have defamed the founding of this nation and the institutions that we have. We're the only nation on the face of the earth that has this.
That's right.
That's right, we are.
And that is the definition of American exceptionalism. That's something that Obama didn't understand. Obama thinks that American exceptionalism is America is above everybody else. No, that's not what it means. What it means is the root word of exceptionalism. The America is the same as the rest of the world, except it's not, our default position is not gulags and dictators and peasants and paupers and the elite. Everybody has a shot here. This is why it's so offensive when I hear Black Lives Matter type people talking stupid. They have a black American has every single opportunity that a white American has in this country.
They sure do.
It's up to them to deal with it.
Exactly.
I didn't have any money growing up either.
I didn't have a whole lot. I mean, people think I'm rich, but that's a bunch of horse. That's a bunch of horse puggy.
I hope I get rich.
I had to work for it.
That's right.
And
it's not white privilege; it's work.
Bingo.
And they can. And there's millions of examples of it from coast to coast. From coast.
Exactly.
Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court justice, probably the most revered in the Supreme Court.
I know. I really like him a lot. And I did like Anton Scalia, too. I read a book about him that his son wrote. Oh, my God, that guy he was brilliant.
Indeed. All right, Marlene, really you have a great weekend. Thanks for contributing to the show.
One more thing real quick, and I promise I'll get out of here. Okay. This is on a happier note. It was an article in American Thinker, and I think I posted it in the chat somewhere. It's talking about how, this was kind of fun, Trump is the Muhammad Ali of the Oval Office.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee.
Stings like a bee. You got it.
Thanks, Marlene.
I got it in there. I won't read the whole thing, but I just thought that was funny. But it's true.
It is.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Should I lighten it up a little bit?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's Friday.
Take a quick break.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Silent Killer Gas Passer.
Mr. Silent Killer Gas Passer.
Last night you had the enchilada combo platter. This morning, the 3-cheese omelet with broccoli.
this afternoon, you're a ticking time bomb. Because of you, a simple elevator ride is suddenly a 42-floor plummet into the very bowels of hell.
You take my breath away.
Who did it? Who cares? Sweet mercy, please just someone light a match.
Sweet, sweet mercy.
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, oh ninja of the nasty. And while you're at it, crack open a window.
Mr. Silent Killer Gas Passer.
And welcome back to Cold War Radio. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. I had to do it. I was cruising around YouTube, and it just looked like it was something that I could just like break it up with a little bit. So I did that. Now I have another clip, Jack, and Regina, I'm getting to you in just a second. And I can't remember where it came from. It basically is titled MSNBC Whitmer. And let me look on the thing here and see if I can figure this out. It might be, this happens to me every now and then, ladies and gentlemen. You go through so many clips. All right, let's go to video 2, and let's see what it says. It says, Biden's Muslim. Whitmer would-be kidnapper. All right, it's about this. All right, we're going to recap a Whitmer thing here. Let's go.
Could their rhetoric be a part of the investigation? Could Donald Trump be aiding and abetting basically domestic terrorism?
If this were virtually anyone else, Joy, their name would be added to the subject line of the investigation. They would be looked at for instigating violence, for aiding and abetting, for conspiring. There would be a serious sit-down at the very least, and they'd be shown the dots that are connected between their rhetoric, their encouragement, and actual acting out violently. This is the President of the United States. We have an Attorney General who keeps pointing to the far left and trying to draw some kind of equivalency between extreme organized violence on the right and violent protest on the left. That equivalency isn't there. We've got a vice president, Joy, who in his debate with Kamala Harris, when asked what his role would be if the president refused to step down after a certified election, refused to answer the question. That gets received by violent extremist groups as a wink and a nod. It's okay to act out if we don't get our way in the election.
All right, so this guy's name is Frank Figliuzzi, and he's known as the Alex Jones of MSNBC, right? This guy is a nutcase. He just told you that he thinks that President Trump should be charged with these anarchist leftists that got caught in the sting that the FBI conveniently put out there because it's October in an election year. The whole idea of these morons, these criminals, that are trying to tell you that right-wing extremists are the thug punks that are out in the streets burning our cities down. And notice they're all left-wing cities. Is ridiculous. And we ought to create a new federal government agency, and we ought to call it the Federal Communications Commission. The FCC. You could call it the FCC if you wanted, to regulate this bullshit. This is ridiculous.
I mean, for this guy to sit there and take a Pence non-answer to a question and say that was a wink and a nod to,
what, to the
anarchists? What do they call it? The Wolverine Watchmen.
Yeah.
The Boogaloos. Who's next? What band is coming up next in this deal?
Like I said, you go to the video 2 page at SteelCityResistance.com, and you can watch 4 or 5 of these leftist knuckleheads in their own words in YouTube videos. And Frank Figliuzzi ought to never be able to be behind a microphone at a network again. I mean, it's out of control. They're lying.
Watch the actual folks that were arrested. Like one has the anarchy flag in his man cave while he's, spewing his no government, he doesn't want any government message. And
Absolutely.
I believe he actually doesn't like Trump very much, too.
Not at all. Thinks he's a tyrant.
Yeah. Watch it, come to your own conclusion, and if you agree that the news is reporting this 100% wrong, share that. Say, hey, here's the guy right here in his own room speaking his mantra. And it completely negates what the media is trying to present to you and scare you.
That's right. Now, I know she's been doing her due diligence from Richmond. Let's welcome Regina to the program. Thank you for waiting, Regina. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I knew you had to get a lot of stuff off your chest again.
Well, there was 4 callers in front of you too. That's the reason you had to wait. I got to take them in order. It wouldn't be fair. But you're on now.
First of all, yeah, I was calling you to tell you some interesting information. Not only you, the only one that came up with the information about that fake organization that's got these plans.
Yeah, the Transition Integrity Project.
Yeah, because apparently one of the guys that apparently I think wrote or either read this other guy's article on it, and he threatened to kill the guy on Twitter.
I believe that.
Well, that's not going to work so well, is it?
Yeah. So, but get this. It gets more uglier and nastier. And guess who is stepping in now? Dan Bongino is stepping in.
Uh-oh.
Now Dan Bongino has threatened the guy that threatened the other guy with death and stuff like that. And then Dan Bongino also threatened this other reporter saying that if she writes an article on him that is not factual, he's going to sue her.
Well, that's fair. I think, and let's all say a prayer for Dan Bongino.
Thank goodness Regina is on Twitter to share. You see what you're missing?
Hey, what can I do, man? I mean, you know who else got suspended was Rick Grinnell.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And Grinnell is pissed off too because Grinnell is he's blowing up Twitter all over the place. He's throwing everything out there. He's saying that he's glad that the president is declassing everything so everything can come.
That's a guy.
President under like 100% double secret scrutiny right now. Isn't there a few things that were tagged by Twitter, and that's like being used by folks in the media to point to Trump is like he's taking these drugs and he's like out of his mind right
The
now.
the biggest story about his interview with Hannity last night was that he coughed.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He coughed.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have a cough button on this mixer right here, you guys would never hear the show.
Oh yeah. Oh, and by the way, in the interview with Rush Limbaugh, he threw Fox right up under the bus, right there on Rush's show. I think Rush didn't question him or either didn't ask him further information about it, but he threw Fox up under the bus.
Well,
He said,
he's right.
He basically said the only people that he said Fox was friends, I think.
Yeah, and he also said he was talking about some of these people, and he said, yeah, Rush, some of them are your friends. And then he kept on going. That was a good interview. I love the guy. I do, man. He comes out there, and the only thing is, Rush disappointed me. He did, man. He kept trying, and I know because I have a show, and I do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I let people go, but every now and then I got to bring it back to my mic because it's my show. It's just the way it is in radio.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't working with Rush because Trump wasn't listening to him.
And I don't think.
And he's one of the
you win that battle either.
No,
I don't think.
No, I would never do that. No, I would like we said before. I'd put my mic on mute.
Yeah, just
and when I heard 2 seconds of silence, I'd come back on. And that's the way I do most interviews with people that, really, really important people.
Yeah, it works out well.
Yeah, it did. It was
the other part that I thought of sitting here, in my apartment. I was thinking that apparently the police unions got decisions to make.
Mm-hmm.
The police unions got decisions to make. The FBI, the CIA, the military, and border patrol. All of these groups got to make a decision made, because all the things that these people have in common, they're in some type of law enforcement.
Yep.
They got a decision to make, whether stay in law enforcement or get out, or either transfer to different.
That's
one
right.
of these different other locations.
Now
So that's what I kind of figured out.
that's
I
right.
figured out that, in order to drain the swamp, you got to get rid of the bad ones. And you got to put the good ones in the right locations where they need to be, instead of them having them stay in the same location for so many years. So all these organizations got to make a decision to make. Are they going to stay in those jobs, or either get out of those jobs, relocate, go to different aspects of the same job, or not?
I think the president ought to be active and ought to go to these agencies and ought to appeal to the patriotic employees of all these different agencies. And I think he ought to make it clear that, hey, if you come out and you stand up for the country, no matter what happens to you, I got a job for you.
Yep.
We'll start a new Department of Justice. We'll start a Department of American Justice.
Who knows? Maybe with all of these revelations, all of this last-minute releasing of or declassifying and releasing this information of things that have been hinted at. We've talked about it, but now it's going to be out there, black and white, full for the American people prior to this election. And like you said on Rush today, he's angry with what the Attorney General has mentioned about the Durham report.
And
this
to
might
be fair,
be all part of it, right?
To be fair, it only came out at one quote unquote news agency from Axios. It might not even be true. It might not even be true. But boy, this is October, so everybody covered it.
But the releasing of all this, so all of this information for those, maybe it's too much information at once for folks to swallow today, tomorrow, the next day. But as it keeps building and building towards, you have the swamp doing what they're doing with Michigan and right-wing extremists. The president had COVID, all this. And on America's side, you have all of this information, the truth about what's been going on from the government being released by the president and his team. Who's going to win that? Is it going to be America, or is it going to be communists?
Let's look at look at it for what it was. When the president did that, that was a flying drop kick to the face to A.G. Barr.
Yeah.
And to Gina Hastert, or whatever her name is, Hasper. I forget.
Haspel. She's the one.
Right. That was a kick to her. Because they're not doing it.
If you remember, Trump actually mentioned and authorized this like a month and a half, 2 months ago. But foreign nations, a.k.a. Australia and Europe, you would think Five Eyes nations, requested that the president don't do this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it's going to expose all of our so-called Five Eyes allies complicit
he said
in trying to prevent him to become president.
He said with Rush today that our allies are worse than our enemies when it came to trade deals. And I've been saying for a couple years now, screw Western Europe. Eastern Europe is where we need to go for our allies. Western Europe is broken, destroyed, corrupt, Islamified. It's not worth messing with them anymore. They're not trustworthy. after all we did for those sorry-ass nations, for them to act the way they have, to me, requires showing them my back. And I mean that. I do. Germany, France, all of them.
Yeah, and look down their nose like they did. That's the reason why we have the United States of America.
Right.
Those old European nations, because they're all intertwined. The blue blood. Think about it. Look at history.
All the leaders of England were German.
Germany, UK, France, all that. That was the inbreds.
That's
they were
right.
all that area.
All the royalty in England is from Germany. I mean, when you look at the blood, when you look at the lineage, it's just
they had to marry off between country and country
they're not
royals
worth it.
because
They're not
they
worth
were,
it. They can't fight.
They were
They're not
breeding
worth it.
themselves out of existence. So
Anyway.
Oh yeah, and by y'all talking about that, y'all just reminded me of something else that kind of explains Colin Powell. I remember they did the DNA thing with Colin Powell, and come to find out he was somehow related to Princess Diana.
Really?
Yep.
Damn. I never liked that guy. I never did.
no wonder he's allowed in the Hamptons. You know?
Yep. So that kind of sort of explains that. I just remember that because they did the ancestry DNA thing on him when they were first starting out,
That's
and
funny.
they transferred. They checked. I guess the research and went back to his ancestry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they found out that his ancestor, I guess, was related to Princess Diana, and he didn't know it at the time until they told him. He was like, "Oh."
No wonder I'm a
But
general.
he didn't even try it. They took his blood and then sent it off and said, "Hey." And I thought Elizabeth Warren actually said she was related to Princess Di through General Colin
Pocahontas.
Powell. You know, I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
All right,
so-
Regina, you have a great weekend. Or you got something else? If you got something else, go ahead.
Oh, that kind of sort of explains that. So so I just had to call in to bounce that idea off you about the police unions, how they're gonna have to break themselves up.
Yeah.
CIA too, FBI.
That's right. Yeah.
Some of the military and the border patrol. All of them, they all gonna have to somehow.
Wait till you
break
hear.
themselves apart.
I got a story for you. We're not going to go too far over, but I'm going to definitely cover this story. So stay tuned. Have a great weekend, and thanks for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks,
right.
Regina. I think one part that she's mentioned with the police union is if you think about this is a very unique re-election campaign because I think there's only one candidate that's getting the majority of the police law enforcement endorsement, and a lot of departments never have endorsed that are endorsing President Trump, unions included. So maybe that's something to think about if we get to the point where Regina's talking about making decisions, right?
Yeah, I think the rank and file, forget the union endorsement, the rank and file is voting for Trump. Anybody in
Just have
law
their
enforcement
back, right?
or firefighters, or these are American patriots. They have American flags on their helmets, on their cars, in front of their houses. These are patriots. These are law and order people. Sure, there's some idiots in there, but, by and large, the Philadelphia Firefighters Union endorsed President Trump breaking away from the International Association of Firefighters. And there was a couple people that were mad about it, but it doesn't matter. They're inconsequential.
But that's big.
It is. A mayoral
Like
candidate.
making a statement, right? That's making a huge statement for the Philadelphia Union for
Yeah.
the firefighters. I mean,
And
that's
the-
a big Democrat area.
It is. And as such, it's corrupt. This is where some of the worst cases of voter fraud occurred, were in and around Philadelphia. This is where the 103% of the voters voted for Barack Obama and 0 for Mitt Romney.
That was a good turnout.
Yeah, great turnout. A mayoral candidate in Carrollton, Texas, has been arrested and charged with voter fraud. The Denton County Sheriff's Office has now Texas, man, Texas. Let's just talk. Texas, let's talk. You can't be having a guy named Zul Mirza Mohammed as a mayor. It doesn't work. So the sheriff's office has Zul Mirza Mohammed in custody and charged him with 109 felonies related to voter fraud. The investigation began September 23rd when the sheriff's office was notified by the Denton County Elections Office of possible fraudulent activity related to absentee ballot applications. Officials say absentee ballots had been requested to be sent to a P.O. box in Louisville that was supposed to belong to a nursing home. When investigators made contact with the Carrollton residents whose ballots had been requested, they learned that none of the residents had asked for ballots be mailed to the P.O. box. Further investigation revealed that the P.O. box had been obtained with a fictitious Texas driver license and a fictitious University of North Texas student ID. Imagine that.
Voter suppression, Hutch.
Yeah.
That's all this is. How dare they?
Raw power from the street to City Hall. You know?
150. That's how you get 150% voter turnout in an election.
109 felonies. That dude might as well just break his plate. He ain't never getting out of jail.
That must be how many applications that he filed, fraudulently set.
Unreal.
But like you said, you had that happen, and then you have what's going on in Minneapolis with the Project Veritas and what they expose, and the complete difference. In Texas, they're going to arrest your ass right there, and we're not having this.
Right.
Minneapolis, they're covering for who? One of the squad, Ilhan Omar.
And guess who's covering for it? Guess who the Attorney General is in Minnesota?
Keith Ellison.
Muslim Minnesota. Woman beater, a true Muslim. Governor Cuomo has really stepped on it. It's not covered very well. But I want you to listen to this clip. And I'm not going to tell you about the statement that is the worst in this clip. But we're going to talk about it when it's over.
So, first question, can there be a targeted fix for this, or are you concerned that New York will have to reinstitute a more broader lockdown in response?
No, Jim, this is actually how we done. Statewide, the number is one of the lowest numbers in the United States of America. Today, I'm going to announce an infection rate of about 1%. That is literally one of the lowest rates, and it's remarkable because we had one of the highest rates. We do more testing than any state in the United States. We do more testing in one day, Jim, than most states do all week. So when you do that much testing, you can target exactly where the new cases come from, the quote-unquote clusters. And we can target them by block. And what we're now doing is where we see a cluster, and our infection rate in a cluster is about 5%, which is still lower than most states, we just target those clusters. And we have a couple of unique clusters, frankly, which are more religious organizations, and that's what we're targeting. But that's the way it should happen.
Do you blame those groups for flouting the rules?
Blame. Blame will be done by a higher authority at one time. They're not following the rules. We know what happens when you don't follow the rules. The infection rate goes up, and it just proves our point from the get-go. We know how to control the virus, but you have to control the virus. You have to be disciplined. And when you don't follow the rules, it goes up. And that's what's happening in these very small clusters. Now, these are religious groups. It tends to get more complicated, frankly, because of some cultural aspects. But that's what we're seeing in New York. Our tactic is wherever you see an ember, run and stamp out the ember before it becomes a flame.
Okay. As you know, an Orthodox Jewish advocacy group and a Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn actually filed 2 separate federal lawsuits against you over these new restrictions on religious gatherings. What is your response to those lawsuits?
Yeah, the cluster is a predominantly ultra-Orthodox cluster. The Catholic schools are closed because they happen to be in that cluster. But the issue is with that ultra-Orthodox community. This is not a matter of religious freedom, right? I don't care if you're Roman Catholic, you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're an atheist. You have to follow the rules of the state, the laws of the state. And I understand the beliefs of the ultra-Orthodox. I've been very close to them all my life. I'm a big supporter of theirs, but they have to follow the rules, Jim, because we're seeing the truth. And the truth is, if you don't follow the rules, the infection rate spreads, people get sick, and then you make others sick. You know, we're talking about Brooklyn. We're not talking about a hermetically sealed community in a rural area. This is in the middle of Brooklyn. They will make other people sick.
The science is clear. Final question.
The science is clear. I don't care about your religion. You have to follow the rules of the state. That's sickening, Jack. That is so against the United States Constitution and the First Amendment to that Constitution. Listen, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If this was the bubonic plague and you get sick and you die and other people die, that's a different situation than this one. The mortality rate of this disease is so small. And God bless the 200 and some thousand people that have perished, mostly over 70. But to trample, and why do you have to call them ultra-Orthodox Jews? Why don't you just call them Hasidic Jews? Why do they have to be ultra something?
Got to categorize, folks, and the Hasidic is too religious of a term, right? Because
apparently,
if you have to explain that, then you have to get closer to the religion. You know, when you explain ultra-Orthodox is just a terminology because you already have this, that.
That's a
whatever.
crazy guy out there with a long beard and wearing all black with a hat on, or a yarmulke.
Right.
You know?
Here we had Biden doing what earlier with the help of some folks from the VOA.
Quoted the Hadiths, for Christ's sake. The Hadiths.
Yeah. He didn't do
And
that
said
on
if you,
TV.
and let me tell you, because I didn't cover it when the clip played. He said if you see something wrong, fix it with your hand. That's violence, is what that means. That's a dog whistle for behead somebody. Right? Exactly. Thank you, Voice of America.
If you watch that video and the music behind it and the way that it's our time and this is our year, it's not that far off from some of the, the rally cries of the jihad videos. And if you watch it, there's or Islamic text there. So folks that speak English understand that we have a presidential candidate that's with them. Right?
That's right. This is our guy.
This is our guy.
Now, in a crazy maneuver by A.G. Barr, this is a good one. I know I've been hitting on him a little bit here, but this was a good one. The Department of Justice, this is so hilarious. The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Yale University yesterday over charges that the university's admissions office unlawfully discriminates against Asian and white applicants. Yale receives about $600 million in federal funding each year and holds an endowment of $30 billion. I would say, Jack, that one of the things the president could do in his next term is end all federal funding for every college in the United States of America. Because if you don't, you're funding the enemy. You're funding people that are trying to tear this nation down. When's the last time you talked to somebody that was college educated that was really sharp?
I don't know. I don't.
I'm serious.
Ask for it.
They're stupid.
Well, I've seen them plenty of times on TV lately.
And I'm not trying to take anybody down that went to college. No. But what I'm telling you is they're not the same product that they were 30 years ago.
It's one thing to go. A university in the United States used to be, I'm talking over 30 years ago, it used to be the ultimate preparation to be an American in adult life. You sat there and you fought within, your civics class, your
the debate club,
whatever. All of that was ideas. The open discussion.
Yeah,
of
you
ideas.
interned for both parties. I mean, it was really and welcomed free speech. The communists that are getting old now, like Pelosi and Clinton, they fought for free speech, but they weren't really fighting for free speach. They were fighting for communist speech.
When I was in the debate club, and this was in the 80s, so it wasn't, it was much better earlier, but even when in the 80s when I was on the debate team for one of my numerous high schools,
Me too.
The main thing was there's no emotion. This is all facts. You debate. You usually the preparation for a debate team, you get handed a topic, and your opponent gets handed the same topic but different positions, and your responsibility was to learn all about that position, and your opponent was supposed to learn about that position and be able to go up there and discuss the topic for 15 minutes, 20 minutes without emotion and just basically point
and without interruption.
Point.
And without interruption.
Right. There was none of this, appeal to emotion, right? Which is completely taken over education. Everything is about feelings.
Oh, it's horrible. I know.
And
it's not even, what we're experiencing, and what a great segue. What we're experiencing with these vice presidential and presidential debates is they're not debates. They are set up for the Democrat to win. What Republican, especially a policy person or somebody trying to explain what packing of the court is or any of the complex issues that are brought up by these commie moderators in 2 minutes. It's not enough time. Hell, 2 hours isn't enough time for our Friday show, Jack. 2 minutes?
Hey, we're here. I'm here as long as the audience needs me.
And it won't be much longer, I promise. But I do have to cover this. And I hope nobody's left the show. I hope we have more people now than we did at the beginning, because I saved this for last on purpose. Because to me, this is the biggest point of the night. Rigged. The chairman of the Presidential Debate Commission is a co-founder of Color Revolution organization linked to Steele dossier and more. From the failed Chris Wallace Biden tag team against Trump to biased moderator Susan Page's shrill interruptions of Vice President Pence, to the Presidential Debate Commission's ridiculous and politically motivated effort to force a virtual debate on Biden's behalf, patriotic Americans have caught on to the fact that there is something deeply unfair about the presidential debates. I pray to God that somebody in the administration is listening to this right now or knows about it.
They know it.
I won't be so smug. This clear bias has justifiably led many observers to wonder, what's wrong with the Presidential Debate Commission? Just yesterday, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany called out the commission directly. And you can go to the link and check it out because tweets aren't going to show up in my article. I don't like reading tweets. The clear bias has justifiably led many observers. Okay, we did that. Kayleigh's characterization of the commission is, of course, correct. However, its corruption and bias goes beyond the simple fact that it is in the tank for Joe Biden. The nominally Republican chairman of Presidential Debate Commission, Frank Fahrenkopf, is both a co-founder and current board member of the International Republican Institute, IRI, a top color revolution propaganda outfit. The IRI was run by never-Trumper neoconservative John McCain for decades. It is closely linked to the thoroughly discredited Steele dossier at the center of the Russia hoax. Frank Fahrenkopf, co-chair of Commission on Presidential Debates, co-founder of National Endowment for Democracy and International Republican Institute, at first glance it might appear as though Fahrenkopf's Republican Party membership, combined with his board membership at the International Republican Institute, lends him, and by extension the Debate Commission, some semblance of balance.
The Debate Commission's board has a Republican co-chair and a Democrat co-chair, creating the appearance of fairness and bipartisanship. Nothing could be further from the truth. Bipartisanship in the Trump era all too often means that corrupt establishment elements of both parties join arms to undermine Trump and his agenda. A debate commission consisting of John McCain and Hillary Clinton would be technically bipartisan, but it would not be balanced when it comes to Trump and his supporters. Globalist Republicans and globalist Democrats have far more in common with each other than they do with Trump.
Our choice of John McCain in this example was not arbitrary. As it turns out, the late Senator John McCain served as the chairman of the board of the International Republican Institute for 25 years. Just months before he died, John McCain took to Twitter to scold the Trump administration for allegedly defunding the organization. The Washington Post article in the above tweet that you won't see unless you go to the link reveals that George Soros' Open Society Foundation was furious that Trump would dare to downscale a democracy promotion event at the State Department.
Remember the thumbs down. Perhaps McCain was just standing up for his friend Soros, who incidentally was a major contributor to the McCain Foundation.
Only place you're going to hear that is right here.
Say again?
The only place you're going to hear that is right here. Go ahead.
Yes, that the current co-chair of the Debate Commission, Frank Fahrenkopf, is himself a sitting board member and co-founder of IRI, offers insight into just what kind of Republican he is and what sort of balance his chairmanship really provides. In reality, it weighs the scales even more heavily against Trump.
Now,
Fahrenkopf's
the PS. Oh, no. I'm getting this one.
All right, now here we go. Go for it.
I want to play some music before it or something, you know.
All right, yeah.
This is the cut of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is it. Fahrenkopf's colleagues on the IRI board, which controls the debates, folks, include Lindsey Graham, H.R. McMaster, and Senator Mitt Romney. This does not exactly inspire confidence for Trump supporters. By now, it is very clear exactly the type of Republican this organization caters to. These people, Jack, are traitorous bastards. I mean, think of all the debates you've ever seen in your life.
I think look back in the history on this commission for the debates for the president, it's not something that's been around forever.
Only
but
since Nixon.
It's definitely
Nixon
been
Kennedy.
around. It's definitely been around through, in my opinion, the 50 years of this effort to eliminate, our founding principles.
Yep, ever since Nixon Kennedy.
It has definitely been there.
And we've taken a hit on every single one of them, and sometimes we come out better than these people. But I'm so embarrassed at H.R. McMaster, man. I mean, damn.
I mean, think about this. I mean, we all love Ronald Reagan, what he did for this country. He was nowhere near the outsider, and I always think with Ronald Reagan, they shot him.
Yeah, and they forced him. They not only shot him, they forced him to take George H.W. Bush as his vice president.
Exactly, and then if you look at Reagan's post-shooting deal, it started morphing more into the 1,000 Points of Light, New World Order, George H.W. Bush's New World Order deal, which we lived through all the way, one by one, Republican, Democrat, until America said no more, and we chose President Trump. Think about that.
Who recently said all the troops will be home from Afghanistan by Christmas. Something that's got to be pissing Pompeo off. And I've talked about that in the past about the State Department. I mean, they've set up facilities, and I know this from in-person reports of people that are there that are supposed to last forever. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Let's go to Ralph in Missouri. Thanks for calling, Ralph. What's on your mind?
Well, I'll throw a shotgun bunch of things at you here at the recent event. First off, the commission was trying their best that they were using Trump's COVID virus as a cover to get Joe Biden into a virtual debate.
Yeah.
Now, 2 or 3 days ago, I think it was when this first came up, Trump right away said, "No way in hell." And that's a quote. Is he getting in a virtual debate or whatever? And he talked about that on Limbaugh's program today, among other things. And he brought up the subject about where they were caught, but the commission apologized because they were throttling his microphone.
Right, oscillating it.
Yeah, oscillating it. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. And
I'm a radio guy.
Then I know. Means they were playing with the volume.
Right.
I mean, but anyway, so Trump is, even though the commission, the same night, Martha McCullum had the commissioner of the voting commission and all the debate commission, whatever, and all that. And he comes up and says, and nobody else said it, he says, well, we're worried about Joe and everybody else getting contaminated because we don't know the inside scoop on Trump's COVID status.
Jeez,
so if he sent it over to, it's not John Hopkins, but whatever university medical thing they were using, if Trump had them get together, his doctors get together with them and tell all that crap, which then 5 minutes later it'd be all over the frickin' internet and the news media about whatever they did to him in intricate detail and all that. And Trump just said, no, piss on that. I'm not doing it. You know what? Hey, I think I'll have a rally that day.
In Pittsburgh,
And
yeah.
piss on it. You know, I'm not worried about it one way or the other. And he's still stuck to his guns even today about that. And moving right along, the United States Navy in the 2021 budget has decided to X for right now the new Columbia-class submarines, which are supposed to replace the Ohio-class boomers, and they were supposed to be able to carry that super-duper missile that Trump talked about, like Mach 16 and all that crap. Even though an ICBM does like Mach 21 when it's in final phase and all that. Anyways, so now we've got bombers rotating all over the place. The SecDef just signed an agreement with Romania for mutual protection.
Outstanding.
Nice.
Outstanding.
Now, if anybody wants to check this out in gory detail, everything that I'm talking about is in the VFW 2.0 chat room. Just go in there and look, and you'll see all the stories and the pictures and so on and so forth. But yeah, we've been sending tanks and stuff over there for a while now, and I think it's Romania or one of them over there that's willing to build an entire military base for us if we would put troops in there on a more or less permanent basis, like we do Japan and Germany.
Let me ask you a question. Let me cut you off for a second and ask you a question, Ralph. How do you feel about the shift in American foreign policy? And I mean, it's not complete yet because you have so many deep state people at the State Department.
Right,
what do you think about my opinion about Western Europe versus Eastern Europe?
Well, it's kind of going that way anyway, because the way Trump does this is that the philosophy is like this. There's two ways to take over a country. One, militarily. Two, economically. So you look at what Trump has done with China alone, and he's got these suckers on their knees. And if he gets reelected, it's going to get even worse. And they're trying to match us toe to toe, but we're sitting there, like say, for example, in the South China, we're sitting there selling all of our hardware to everybody there. And we're also doing it in the Middle East. That's why the UAE and them decided they wanted to sign a peace deal with Israel because we're going to give them F-35s. They have to pay for them, of course, but...
And they're stripped down. I mean, they don't have Good job.
The reason, the thing I'm looking at is the United States and post-USSR and all of the former nations, what we're talking about here, Eastern Europe, as far as Western Europe, it seems to me
NATO versus the
was,
Warsaw Pact, really.
Right. It was basically, it looked about like we're going to let Western Europe nations of NATO, bring these Eastern Bloc and protect them. But they basically abandoned them. They haven't moved them forward at all. But even so, they have, with that strong freedom vibe, which our country was founded upon, they have survived all these, not having any help from the EU. The U.S. is basically bypassing the EU and going to the Eastern Bloc nations, Romania,
that was my question.
Hungary and all that, and saying, "Hey, we got your back."
And that was basically my question. What do you think about that? What do you think, Ralph, about the realignment of who our allies are? And when I say that, I mean, what has the UK, France, Germany done for Scandinavia, done for America lately? When's the last time they stood up for us?
Yeah, I understand, but what they're realizing is that the United States especially if Trump gets reelected, this COVID thing's going to die, and the U.S. is going to be a juggernaut
Indeed.
all over, and if not worse. And then they're going to turn around, and all these people are going to want to go where the cool kids are, that got the money and all that. Like right now, Trump says, the EU doesn't want to talk. Okay, fine, screw them. Let them sit there and stew in their own juices. Meanwhile, we're sitting here making deals with all these other countries, like in South China. We're selling F-35s to Japan. We're selling F-35s over in the Middle East. We're selling F-16 Viper variants to Taiwan. We're flying bombers all over the frickin' place, even though China keeps trying to throw a few squadrons out there to see if they can provoke a response. Meanwhile, we're setting up troops and little encampments all over the place, and now you're seeing all these smaller countries like the Philippines, Malaysia, and all that. They're actually attacking Chinese fishing boats that have been out there in their waters, disputed or whatever,
right?
And actually capture the boats, set them on fire, whatever, and all that. And China doesn't stand there and huff and puff and say, okay, like they did with Britain, well, we're just not going to buy your meat anymore. Just like, yeah, okay, well, you have fun trying to feed 1.5 billion people.
Right. And
Because
I think back to my brother, my late brother, who was in the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, the Black Horse, on the Czech border during the Cold War. And I remember him telling me that these West Germans are not prepared, man. I remember him telling me their rifles are rusty, they don't drill. And I think about that, and I think of how they have been riding on us for 50 years, man. We saved their ass. If it wasn't for the United States of America, France would be part of what was the Warsaw Pact. I mean, maybe not the Warsaw Pact, but they would have been eaten up by Germany. And Germany, throughout the Cold War, and especially recently, is not paying their fair share for the NATO protection. I mean, half of the United States Army during my career, especially the early years, had to serve in Germany. In 20 different, all over the country. We had hundreds of thousands of troops in Germany, in the United States Army during the Cold War. And they bought their
hardship tours there, Italy, is like, boom, you're gone.
Yeah.
Korea, boom,
and
boom,
and
boom,
they paid for their energy to Russia. They had a pipeline going. They were paying for all their energy to Russia, bad-mouthing the United States. And I think it's coming home to roost because I've had enough of it myself.
The repositioning. I mean, even though the last 4 years, even though when Romney was against Obama for the presidency, Obama said Russia is so back then. What are you bringing up, Russia? But the whole time Trump's been president, the big enemy is Russia. What has President Trump done? He's
told the
stood
truth.
up right straight up. He hadn't really done much besides, a couple of sanctions on Russia for some things they did in the Crimea, I believe. But the main target is China, right? With the trade war, boom, boom, boom. And like Ralph was reporting, these smaller nations in Asia are pushing back against China. If you remember recently, in a few shows ago, where India, another friend, right? There was a big celebration with Trump and Modi in Texas.
It was a huge celebration.
India and China had a hand-to-hand combat, and that's basically escalated a tiny bit, but it's basically China's back down.
And let's go back to the campaign that President Trump executed and what he's been saying forever.
朋友们啊，我感觉这个产品非常好，因为它对中老年人是特别需要的。因为
Let's say China.
整个中国还有很多国家
China.
就是老年人、老龄化，而且最近这一次这个人口统计
You go over to China. I love them. China. I have to have my China. China because China.
This guy talked about China so much, Ralph, that I had to make that parody. I mean, he knows what's going on. He knows who our adversary is, and it's not Russia. It's China.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, Russia's just looking for a payday to sell arms to and some gasoline, bombs, ammunition, whatever. Let's not forget that I told y'all a long time ago, China signed an agreement with Iran to sell them if and when the whatever deal fell through and the United States couldn't get snapback sanctions put back in there, they would sell them any and all the military hardware they want to. And Trump even today, where the hell was it? It was a quotation that I posted in the VFW. He said it on Rush Limbaugh's show where he's, if Iran gets any ideas, they're going to get majorly fucked up by us.
And he dropped the F-bomb. He dropped the F-bomb. He did. He dropped the actual F-bomb.
It hurts you so bad if you do. I mean, I posted a story a while back Valerie said something about was 5 things, it was a YouTube video, 5 things that Iran has no answer for. And I'm talking about our military hardware. And now we've got hypersonics and all that.
$2.5 trillion.
Yeah, we could freaking damn screw these guys up.
We could sink their Navy in one day.
Yeah.
Sink it all, the whole Navy.
They don't have that much. And they think flying a drone over the top of one of our carriers, if that was true, and all that here a couple weeks ago, that, they got their little bombs on there and all this stuff, and they forgot about the, one of the LHAs, I think it was the America, had a Marine Corps, some kind of a jammer truck on there that they bolted down to the front end of the back end of the ship, one or the other. And they started flying their drones out there, and they turned that little emitter on that thing, and that drone just went right in the Davy Jones blocker.
Right.
That's it. Boom.
And don't think that he won't exercise. Don't think he won't exercise that too. I mean, this is something that
he's putting all this firepower out there, and the media's not saying a word. Just like I said, take the South China, for example. Okay? China just came out with their 3rd aircraft carrier. And it's another Liang and Hongdong, whatever.
Hope don't sink.
It's a Walmart aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Hope don't sink.
Yeah, and it's got a ski jump. And the ski jump carrier means, A, you can't launch that many aircraft because the aircraft has to take off under its own power. And then you got to turn around and you can't do a full bomb loadout and all this. And the United States has got a Nimitz-class carrier. It wouldn't even be a fair fight.
No, steam catapults and everything, sure.
Yeah, and you look at what the president has done with the Arab nations, coalescing, gathering them around to defend the region, and they don't like Iran too much.
You know, that's a really good point, Jack, too. You got to look at, if you look at the response to our internal stories that we have in the United States, when you look at the difference between the response of the American left with the response of the rest of the world. Like, for instance, when the president got sick, the rest of the world came to his side, and the left just was happy. They were like, man, I hope he dies.
They
have no clue of what's going on.
You know.
Anyway, Ralph, thank you for calling, sir. Always appreciate your expertise, man. Really, I mean that.
Later, guys.
Thank you. All right, so there you go.
Ralph does a great job.
He does. He does, because I'm not real smart on Navy stuff. And I love the specificity that he brings to the program with the different classes of ships and things.
I don't know if a secret message or not that the president gave to the troops, but it was, is it a signal? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I've told you at the risk of being ridiculed for the last couple of years that I've always been nervous about Taiwan.
Right.
And I think that some of that may be in response to that. I'm not sure.
But
I don't know.
I mean, like Ralph had just said, there's nations that are just bucking right straight up against China now.
True, and that never happened before.
That would have never happened.
Even Vietnam. Right? I mean, small nations.
Right. All of them. I mean,
they've had enough. And what did the president do recently? One of the biggest threats to our nation, economically and militarily, was the vast exploitation by the PLA and the CCP of rare earth materials in Africa and other places.
Right.
And
think
to your point of the president elevating economic minds into the war strategy or the national security strategy. Right. He has mobilized.
Level,
he's mobilized the research of rare earths.
Yes,
which is
all of that. I mean, it never made sense to me when we were in Afghanistan since when?
Oh my God! It's the longest campaign of the American history.
2003,
and
the
for
largest discovery of rare earth minerals was in Afghanistan.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yes, it was over.
No, I didn't know that at all.
Trillions upon trillions of rare earth minerals, and the easiest way to explain that is a lot of those
your
minerals go into creating computer parts
and your cell phone. Right, exactly.
Right,
and weapon
and
systems.
China, while we were there, the United States soldiers, our blood and treasure is there fighting a war against, I guess, the invisible enemy and the Taliban. Right. China was up there in the mountains harvesting the rare earth minerals. The United States did not even say, "Hey, we want our companies in there."
Wow, I got to look.
It never made sense to me,
until
we know what Obama and the deep state and Hillary Clinton and all of this effort to destroy our country has been.
There's another aspect that I just started uncovering today. In other words, there wasn't enough material to me to bring it to you because I don't like bringing things out. I don't want this to be the Gateway Pundit show. I like the Gateway Pundit. I like Joe Hoft and his operation, but sometimes it's clickbait, man, and I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson early on that, but China is funding Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and there will be more to come on that in the future. I promise you. I'm not sure exactly how it works. Like I said, I just basically heard of it today, but we've got some good guests coming up, too. Mona is going to cover the Supreme Court justice hearings. He's going to D.C., I think, tomorrow.
Nice.
But she also she's not covering it for us. She's a correspondent for a publication down in Florida. I don't have it right here. I will get it. But she also, we've got some CIA agents coming on the show either next week or the week after that will be very, very interesting, especially on an historical level, because one of them was like from the Vietnam War. It's going to be interesting. It really is. But anyway, that's about it for tonight, Jack. Your final comments? And,
loved it. I loved it. There's so much more to talk about. I'm sure the audience is just like, we're all sponges right now, but we're all still patriots. And, don't go away with all this new. Don't be overwhelmed and don't be discouraged. It's all an effort. This is our battle right now. We will do not be discouraged. The reason why they are hammering us is because we're winning, right, Huck?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Don't fall for the psyops. They do it all the time. Get out there and vote in person. We've got many shows before the election. We're not done yet. I really appreciate you all coming out. I do. Make sure you go to rsbn.bandcamp.com and support Jacob Seals, a great artist. RSBN doing a great job covering different public events. Make sure you check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22 before they take it off. And go check out Mona Salama at monasalama.com or at Mona Salama _ on Twitter. She makes a lot of the things happen on this show. The email is scrtv@live.com. Podcast is everywhere. Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the Cold War Radio app, which is free in your app store. Go to Podchaser, Spotify. Leave a comment. Leave some 5-star ratings. Like the show on Spreaker, man. Those are down a little bit. You can also always go to YouTube until they take us down with captions. Wow, great show, Jack. Appreciate everything and all the callers. Appreciate you. If you're listening to the show for the first time, make sure you go into the chat room. When people talk about the VFW, they're talking about the chat room on Spreaker. And there's right now 792 comments for the chat room on this evening's broadcast. And that's a little slow. That's coming from my Spreaker studio. Anyway, I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. I want to thank you for letting us into your lives for a couple hours. I know they are valuable. From everybody here at Cold War Radio, God bless. right. I got to figure out how to do this. Let me do this right here. Hold on. We're gonna make this work. I blew it, ladies and gentlemen. I definitely blew it. I've opened the channel back up for. Let me see. Can this work? I don't know. We're gonna see. It's acting a little dumb. Uber conference easy user. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there you guys. You can all hear it. And let me turn it off so you don't hear it. Hello, and welcome to Cold War Radio. Hold on. If you are a guest, turn it off so stand by, and Hutch will bring you on directly. You're not going to hear it. But Jack, go ahead and call back in. Please mute your microphone. He's joining the call. Until you are called on. And I apologize, folks. I apologize. I forgot winners and losers. And that is a big mistake. I'm waiting for, there's Jack. He's back. Because I blew that. I apologize. Let's end this with winners and losers. I was so into the content of the program, I forgot about that.
There's so much, there's so much.
It was a good show, man.
Get to.
I know. It's like that, but we can't do a 10-hour show, man. So let's winners and losers, my man.
Winner this week was DNI. Director of National Intelligence, I believe, former Congressman John Ratcliffe released a lot of information which actually confirms what was once labeled by the media conspiracy theory, right? The Hillary Clinton actually approved. She didn't invent it. She approved the operation to actually use Russian information, to implicate Trump-Russia collusion, to deflect from what? The Hillary email investigation. Imagine that. And this goes all the way back to 2016. And it's crickets, right?
But think about the story behind this. To me, is John Ratcliffe and Rick Grinnell,
right,
and Mark Meadows. These are people, the president, if nothing else, and there is so much else, but
Devin Nunes is still there,
an American patriot. Devin Nunes, an American, but. My point is that the president knows how to identify quality people. He got Ratcliffe and Meadows to leave Congress to get on his team.
He initially
Jim Jordan got to be next.
He tabbed Ratcliffe earlier and gave him time because Ratcliffe recused or basically said, I have to decline right now.
You know why?
It was a few months later.
You remember why? Because of Lindsey Graham's Select Committee on Intelligence. The Intelligence Committee of the Senate is the one that has to approve those people. Lindsey Graham is an enemy of the state, folks. Yes. I don't care if you live in South Carolina or not. I just told you that this scumbag is on the debate committee. He is no better than John McCain or H.R. McMaster, and the quicker we cut that cancer out of our government, the better.
And he's like in a very close contest to have his Senate seat. And if you've seen a couple of times where he's said that he's going to have hearings to try to get these quote unquote criminals, he also says, but you need to help me win my seat, right? Like he's going to hold this hearing against the American people to make sure that he wins his reelection.
And I'll tell you, a person like him, and let me contrast this. When I see Rick Grinnell out there, who is a rock star to me, a rock star, at least he comes out and tells you who he is. He stands there with his partner, who I don't really care about. Lindsey Graham, a guy like that doesn't have the balls to come out like Grinnell and stands there with no woman next to him, I have no time for that guy.
Lindsey Graham is.
If that makes any kind of sense, I don't know if it does or not, but that's the way I feel.
But Rick Grinnell, he showed his true colors when he was
right.
Given the Germany ambassadorship, where he went head to head with Merkel and stood his ground. Especially that was the key point where President Trump was pushing the nations of NATO, especially Germany, right? If
they were the worst.
Germany. They've
allowed their country to be infiltrated by Turkish Muslims that people used to warn me if I got stationed over there, don't go anywhere near the Turks.
Right.
In the 80s.
Think about the whole region. The whole reason why we are in Germany in the first place with our military is because of that nation, right?
Yep, exactly.
So
your winner, sir.
For them, that was my winner.
Or your loser.
My loser is easy one. The Commission on Debates, the presidential debates, for what they pulled.
Good choice.
The moderators that they selected. It makes more sense, with the news that you broke tonight, sharing the information about all of the alleged Republicans on that committee, right?
Yeah, right.
Makes
Exactly.
you sick.
It does.
But it makes sense. It
does.
answers the question. How can it be like this? Because these people are involved.
That's right.
What is
That's right.
the trail? The trail. John McCain, Mitt Romney,
H.R.
Lindsey
McMaster,
Graham.
sure,
Yeah,
Lindsey Graham. They're scumbags, all of them. And I'm glad Pat Toomey is out too. And I mean, if a Democrat takes over Pat Toomey's slot, or a Democrat takes Lindsey Graham's slot, then it would be, to me, that's an even trade.
Right.
And we're just going to have to do better, because we don't need backstabbing people in our foxholes like that.
We don't need traitors to the nation.
We don't.
Remaining in
And Lindsey Graham's in the military. I mean, what a disgrace. He's like Mark Kelly, a naval captain, retared astronaut. That three fellow astronauts said, "Don't vote for this communist."
There's quite a few. Well, you would have to say the top tier level former close to the DC swamp military generals, right?
Exactly.
That are on Biden's side. There's a reason. There's a reason why John McCain, Republican, his
biggest traitor in American history of the 20th century,
hustling and escorting Biden and Harris across Arizona to try to win that state.
Right.
Traitors.
Over there in Syria drinking chai with the freaking Muslim terrorists. I wonder why. Anyway, my winner.
Stay alert. Stay alert, folks. Stay
That's right.
engaged.
Stay alert.
It's
Keep
not over.
listening. Tell your friends about this show. Didn't think it was going to go 3 hours, brother. I really didn't. But I forgot. I blew it. I blew the winners and losers. My winner and loser. My winner is Mike Pence. Did an excellent job in the debate. Gained a lot of credibility with me that he did not have before that. Because the unpredictable thing to me was Kamala Harris. I didn't know how she was going to handle herself. And I think Rico had an accurate description. She held her own, but it was with all lies. And the biggest thing that killed Kamala Harris, in my opinion, was the split screen. I mean, she was a valley girl all day long. Oh, yeah, it was sickening.
Sneers.
With her straight brown hair trying to say she's black. Yeah, that
How
was great.
can you bring up Honest Abe and then lie your ass off about what happened? I mean, seriously.
I agree with you. My loser.
When she said it, I was like, oh my gosh, is that true? I was like,
no, it wasn't true.
How could it be?
But my loser, the first person to ever hit the loser ranks twice in a row. Chris Wallace. He chaired a hideous debate, moderated a hideous debate, and then came out afterwards and lost all composure of fair and balanced. I mean, told the president he was a fool for rejecting the virtual debate. I mean, Chris Wallace, it's time for you to get fired, man. It's time for you to move over to CNN. Yeah, he's not slowing down.
Remember when the president was diagnosed with COVID, and all of a sudden he's freaking out like, oh, how dare. It's like his life was in danger.
It's sickening, man. It's
shut up, Chris.
totally disgusting. Anyway, Jack, again, thanks for hanging in so long. I appreciate it, man.
I love the Friday shows, don't you?
I do too. Yeah, it's actually they're the shows that get the most viewers and listeners. So I'll talk to you about that someday. But anyway, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. We're gonna let Jacob Seals
our VFW
take us out
room.
again. Why can't I hear this? Where is it? Is it there? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we do. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it, man. That's going to do it for tonight. Cold War Radio will be back on Monday. God bless once again.
I was born in the coal fields of Kentucky. I moved north in '73. The war was still going strong, so I found a job rolling steel in a foundry in Homestead. I worked beside a guy named Chris Baskin, who taught me how to keep safe. He said there's many a man who lost the fingers from their hands. You can wind up people who are dead in the homestead. And it's still glowing in the white hot chambers. The furnace spit fire and smoke. And the sunlight came through the cracks in the roof. But the dust was so thick you could choke. I heard all your stories about the 12-hour shifts in the mill. And all the Union brothers, the Pinkertons, tried hard to kill. Learned about freaking Carnegie the day the river ran red. How the Union caved in Homestead. It was more than a job, it was my family. I got married, settled down by a home. And in the barns down the street in late summer heat, I never had to feel it alone. I got worked in those old mills down till there's nothing left but the sweat and blood in the ground. At night we tuck our little babies in bed. We still pray to the red, white, and blue in Homestead.